What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand spanking new episode of Granny's Peach Tea. This is episode 13. With me, as always, is Jason. Jason, what's up?
How's it going, Ed? Good to see you. Tony, good to have you back.
I've always wanted to be introduced to this music, so I'm feeling pretty excited right now. I feel very pumped.
Well, Tony, the first Avenger, what's up? How's it going, man? Welcome back.
It is good to be back. I missed you guys. I missed talking with you. You know, we spend, if anybody who listens to the show or watches the show, we spend a good portion of the week discussing just all kinds of nonsense all the time. We're sending pictures of pops and all kinds of shit, and it's just the show that it's just what we do. We prep for the show. We have like little conversations about whatever we watched, or drop little hints. Like, we don't really discuss what we're like in detail. We try to save that for here, but we have conversations back and forth via text all week long. And I'll tell you, I mean, it's really is the first week that we haven't had that I didn't do the show with you guys, and I miss talking to you. So I'm glad to be back, and let's have some fun, bro. It's got some good stuff going tonight.
Yeah, welcome back, though. It's glad to have you back, man. We missed chatting with you too, and now we get to do that again. And thanks to everybody else who's joining us, whether you're joining us on Facebook through the straight live stream or catching up with us at some point, if you're YouTube or Instagram through Pop Culture Pros, thank you so much. If you're listening to the audio version on Spotify or Apple iTunes, thanks for that. Just welcome, man. We're excited to do this thing. We're back in our Wednesday slot, so it's nice to be home again. Even though I got to say, these 2 Friday shows we've done have gotten a little crazy. I don't know what it is about Fridays. Maybe it's because of the work, the long week, or the something like I don't know what's going on. Maybe there's something special in the peach tea. I don't know. It gets a little wonky. Exactly, but I do love it though.
I've switched up my peach tea, guys. I'm now on to something new now. So.
Nice.
Wow, nice.
Yep.
We got our first comment in here. Suhaidi, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. I'm not sure if the 3 black bars are. I mean, that could.
No, it looks like an emoji. It looks like someone waving.
Oh, it's the waving. It's a waving emoji. So
what up, Bill? What's going on? Yeah. So thanks for joining us, and let's jump into it. I think the first thing we need to get to, though, is because last episode we did do something a little bit different, where we actually did an episode the night that a new episode of a show dropped, and that was last Friday. We covered 2 episodes. Jason and I, we did Falcon and Winter Soldier, but we didn't really get to have Tony's thoughts on this episode. So we're gonna jump into it and let Tony share, what he thought, because now that he's caught up and stuff like that. And actually, before we're catching up, Sue was saying it's a high sign.
See, that's what I said.
There you go. So we're going to give you a salute, not from John Walker, though, because
no John Walker. No.
And we're not going to do that. That's more like a Steve Rogers salute.
No, fuck that guy.
Exactly. And I'm sure we're going to get a lot of that, too. Yeah, so thanks. Welcome back. We're excited to be back all together again and jolly and happy and being the super friends that we are.
Yes.
The triumphant trio. Huh?
Yes,
huh?
I like it.
We get matching shirts, guys. That would be great. Let's do matching shirts. I'm ready. I'm so ready for that. Let's do it. Get some merch going. I love it.
So Tony, what's up? Like, give us your overall thoughts though on the last 2 episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Well, I mean, okay, so let's hit episode 3 first, and first of all, I was a little. I didn't know where this was going to go with the whole Baron Zemo thing. I didn't know whether it was just going to be a, if he when they announced the show, I didn't know if it was going to be that he was the big heavy, he was out of jail, so on and so forth, he had gotten himself out. I didn't realize they were going to go through this like a team up kind of a thing. Okay, and can I tell you that I am really, really enjoying Baron Zemo being like a super friend with Sam and Bucky. I mean, first of all, he's so entertaining. Okay, he really, really is. Daniel Brühl has played this part unbelievably well. I liked, yes. I was going to get there, but oh my God, he's awesome. He's awesome. You know, like the whole thing with the money, and I was a baron, and I was like, oh, dude, they just took off with this. This was great. He's flying them all over the place. The fact that they're 2 steps ahead of John Walker, which is hilarious, and is that. But he's been so great. He really was, and just the way his demeanor throughout this whole thing, and every time you think that he's going to do something right fucked up, like every time you think that that's going to happen, he does the right thing.
Yeah.
Like he does the right thing. They would have never shot that guy. The I can't remember his name. The
Dr. Nagel.
That's the guy. Yes, they would have never did that, but it needed to be done, and he did it. Right, and then when he finds I know I'm jumping around everything, but
no, it's fine. Go ahead.
Just because I'm talking about Zemo, but then when he finds what's her name, Carly, when he finds Carly, and he finds all the serum. And he says, "Is this what I think it is?" And they make it seem like he's going to pick that shit up. No, he steps on every single one and destroys it. Like it was done. It's done so well. And you're always waiting for the last minute. He's going to disappear. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He's going to take off. He hasn't done that. Like he is in this to the very end. I love it. I absolutely love what they've done with Zemo. I love and I think that's one of the comments that came up. The chemistry between the three of them is just
it was mentioned.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It really is. Chemistry is absolutely amazing. I agree with you 100%. So I really enjoyed episode 3. Now we get to episode 4. Now we know
episode 4, then 5.
Oh, 4 and 5. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So that was 4. So episode 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it is 3 and 4. Sorry.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm all over the place.
No, you good, bro. So now we find out that the Wakandans are looking for Zemo. Obviously, you know why. He's the one that ended up killing King T'Chaka. So there's no way that they're going to allow him, even after all this time, that they're going to allow him to be free or out of jail. So you see that they're involved. And there are some, and in this episode, there are so many great sequences. I don't mean it. Just there's. I can't even pinpoint which one I think I love the most. Right? There's so many. There's so much shit going on in this episode. Right? The difference between WandaVision and the Falcon and Winter Soldier have been like night and day. Right. Yeah. And it's so much it just shows you the depth of the characters to see, what's going on in this, where they've tried. And I don't think that they've tried to rekindle the Winter Soldier chemistry. You know what I'm saying? They try to bring that out to, have them flying all around the world. It's kind of like it's more of a spy thriller kind of a thing, where, they're shooting for that, and they haven't really been able to do it until the last 20 minutes of this episode. That was all Winter Soldier, right?
Yeah.
It's the same feel, everything about from the time that John Walker walks in on Sam and Carly at the funeral. From there on out, I was like, this has gotten so great. Yes, I'm going to get to John Walker getting his ass.
Yes, whooping ass.
Yes. Yep. Holy shit, that was unbelievable. Right? Oh my God. So we see in John Walker now starting to get a little frustrated. He's Captain America yet, he's got the fan kind of thing with Captain America going, but he's not really getting the quote unquote respect that Steve Rogers got. And I think that he just expected that the minute he put the uniform on, he was going to get that respect. Mm-hmm. And if you call back to the first Avenger, one of the things that Steve had to go through was he had to earn the respect of being a soldier. He was the guy who would raise money and he would do all these things and he was the hype and, the girls loved him and this and that and everything else. But he wasn't a soldier and he had no respect. The generals didn't respect him, and his fellow soldiers didn't respect him until he went and pulled off that miracle and went and rescued that entire platoon essentially.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's when he garnered the respect. But he did, in order to get John Walker, is saying, this was my service record before I was Captain America. So now you just should respect me because they chose me to be Captain America. And it doesn't seem to really work like that. And that's not, Bucky and Sam are not giving him the respect that I think he feels he deserves. And I think it's pissing him off right now. I think he tried to try to schmooze them and win them over in the very beginning. And he's realizing like, hey, these guys don't really give a shit about me. And they're going and doing all these things and not giving me a heads up. And I'm 2 steps behind them because I'm trying to follow them now. So that kind of is starting to show on John Walker. And I know I'm skipping the Sharon Carter thing. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But you get to the point where he walks in, Bucky tells him not to go in, right? Sam is having that conversation and is masterfully breaking her down, okay? Getting into her head, trying to explain to her, we find out later on that, she's trying to recoup, drag him into her side instead of going the other way around. But when he walks into that room and he sees that one vial open, as soon as he saw it, I said to myself, this is a bad fucking dude. This is a bad dude. If he's going to take that, because you could tell that he's got in it, that's not the, I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, but he's got a self-consciousness that he is not a super soldier and it's bothering him.
Well, I think the thing to touch on what you're saying, though, Jason and I did touch on it last week, though, but it's kind of like when he has that moment, when John Walker has that moment, and he's just like staring into no, and I don't know if he's telling Hoskins or he might be telling Hoskins, like, man, they weren't even super soldiers.
That was after the fact.
Oh, it was after him getting
That was after the fact.
But that's what I think pushed him completely over the line, saying,
absolutely,
I need to take this thing now because, like, I am not holding up this Captain America mantle at all. Like,
right.
Honestly, I'm kind of like inefficient. I'm not living up to the mantle. I'm not like, he becomes extremely insecure in that moment. And that was like what really pushes him over.
But if you remember the conversation that Zemo had with Sam, and he said, if you had the opportunity to take the serum, would you do it? And Sam said, absolutely not. Yep. I would not do it. Right now, Sam has been around Bucky and Steve most of his adult life. He knows what super soldiers are all about.
I mean, the dude's fought aliens. I mean, he knows even more than that shit.
Well, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Well, he was, exactly. So
he's fought 2 of the big 3.
Yes, he has. He has fought 2 of the big 3, and he's seen the other in action.
Right.
Exactly.
And he fought Ant-Man, no less. So I mean, let's go down that road if you want to. But anyway, so when you look at that conversation that Zemo and Sam have, Sam knows what's entailed. He's met Isaiah, right, which obviously had a tremendous effect on him because he's still talking about that. Okay, he knows he knows Bucky. Obviously his relationship with Steve, and saying the fact that Zemo saying to him, "Would you take it if you had the opportunity?" And he was like flat out, didn't even hesitate. No. Fast forward 5 minutes later, now you're having a conversation between Hoskins and Walker, and him asking Hoskins, "Would you take it?" And Hoskins is like, "Absolutely," because they don't understand what it means and exactly what power you possess. So that made me go back and remember the conversation that that Dr. Erskine had with Steve the night before his procedure. They were in the barracks. He brought the drink. Remember he brought in the bottle of the German whiskey or whatever it was, and he sat down and he had a conversation with him. And Steve, being the guy he was, looks at Dr. Erskine and says to him, "Why me? Can I just ask you one question? Why me?" And he starts to tell him the story of Red Skull, right? Of what happened to Red Skull, what he did, and what happened to it. And I'm going to read you I'm going to read you exactly what he said to Steve, because I actually wrote it down because it was very powerful. Because after seeing this episode, I wanted to know exactly what he said to him. And this is what he said. He says, "The serum amplifies everything that is inside. So good becomes great and bad becomes worse. This is why you were chosen, because a strong man who has known power all of his life will lose respect for that power. But a weak man knows the value of strength and knows compassion. Whatever happens tomorrow, you must promise me one thing, that you will stay the man that you are, not a perfect soldier, but a good man. Now, we've seen John Walker now, what he was in high school, what he's been in the military, and so on and so forth. He is a man that has always been a leg above everybody else. He does not know what it is like to be the weakling. Showing in that fight, in those fights that he had in that last episode, he knew what it was like to be the weakling at that point.
For the first time.
For the first time in his life, and he didn't want it. He didn't want to be that guy. So he took the serum for the wrong reason. And that's the reason why Steve Rogers was who he was, and why he was the perfect guy to get the serum, and why Walker is one of the guys that you never want to give it to, because he's taking it to gain the power that he feels that he needs, not because he's doing it for a noble or for a good reason. And I thought that this, going back, because I remembered part of it in my head, but I wanted to hear it verbatim what he said, and it was so its episode is so well tailored, I feel like, to this one scene in that movie. It's so important. And then obviously to see what happens, that he obviously took the serum. Okay. Yeah. You see the fact of it. He's got that crazed look in his eye. And then all I kept thinking about throughout this entire episode, before that last 2-minute scene where he's in the middle of the square and he basically beats the shit out of that guy. He beats him to death.
Beats him to death with the shield, yeah.
Right, with the shield, right? And the blood dripping off of that shield like that which is an unbelievably haunting image at the end of that show. To see him standing there in Captain America's uniform with his shield and blood dripping from it, it was, oh my God, it was unbelievable. What a sight. But to see that and to see how it was, to see how he acted after Hoskins, and, how he lost his shit essentially. Mm-hmm. Right. And that, I'm thinking to myself, Steve Rogers was Captain America for all of these years, and nothing like this ever happened. He lost his best friend. He lost his life. He lost all of those things. If he would have come out of the ice, you would have thought that he would have went crazy. And I think that's why S.H.I.E.L.D. was keeping such a close eye on him after he did come out of it, to make sure that this wasn't going to be who he was, that being frozen for all that time hadn't changed him. And it never did. He was always the person that he was. He always stayed that good man that Dr. Erskine begged him to stay with. To stay at that whole time. Lost the love of his life, lost the fact of his youth, lost everything about his life was all different. Never wavered in what he was, and he kept his promise all of those years. John Walker's been Captain America for fucking 5 minutes. He's been Captain America for 5 minutes. He got his ass beat by the Wakandan women, right? Yeah. Right? And I beat the shit out that man. Like, he was, and I mean, bro, how awesome was that when she touched his shoulder and the shit just fell off?
That was awesome. Yep.
Right, and even by the look on his face, like, how are you gonna do that to me? Like, what is that about? How you doing that?
We're friends.
Exactly. Like, you're like my mentor, and you didn't just take my arm off like that. That's crazy.
Oh, it was a literal way to disarm him without actually harming him.
Exactly. Exactly. I was like, wow. But this episode really propelled the show. I thought it was excellent. I thought it was really well done, and I can't believe that we only have it's only 2 more after this, right?
2 more.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, what kind of shit is going to happen in this next episode? They got a lot of stuff going on. So,
well, the thing is that I've seen this week though, and this could be more just like amping up and everything. I can't remember if it was like the writer or the director of the show, that they're saying that they feel episode 5 is their best. Wow. So this next episode we're getting in 2 days, they said they feel it's their best episode of the series that they did.
Well, 4 was pretty goddamn good, so I can only imagine what 5 is going to be if that's the case. Because 4 was awesome.
4 was great, yeah.
Awesome. 4 was really, really good. So the last thing I wanted to touch on was the Sharon Carter thing, and I know I jumped around, and I apologize for that, but I really, really liked the empathy. Yeah. Yes, I really do.
Yeah.
If he's in his grave, which they haven't.
If he is dead, Sue. If he is dead, we seem to defer on that because they haven't officially confirmed 100% whether Steve actually passed or not, or if perhaps Sam and Bucky are kind of like just letting him chill and ride off into the sunset and
Yeah,
do
but
his thing.
he has to be dead, and I'll tell you why. Because you saw that everyone was filming that video of him killing him with the shield. If Steve is alive and he saw that shit, you'd never think that he's going to keep his mouth shut at that point. So
We have 2 episodes to go.
yeah, so we'll see what happens. But so the last thing I want to touch on was the Sharon Carter thing, and I really, really liked how they showed how bothered Sam was by what happened to Sharon. Like it's almost like he forgot about her. It's like everybody forgot about her, and her thought was, I didn't have the Avengers backing me.
Yeah.
And I basically was thrown out. I was thrown away for S.H.I.E.L.D. He goes, and she said, and this is the way that I've had to live, and no one's thought about me ever since. I can't even contact my parents. Like wow. Like, that was really, and Sam took that shit to heart. Like he was just, he felt terrible. He's like, I can't believe that she had to go through all of that. And, the fact that they just, that he promised her that he was going to help her was, and you could just see that it's bothering him. And you see more and more of Steve's traits, in Sam, and you see more and more why Steve gave him that shield, because of that empathy, and again, all back to the same thing, a sense of compassion. He's a compassionate person, and it's like Steve. That's why it's so. I feel like this scene was so important to what happened in these 2 episodes, because it's all right here. You're seeing everything that's been said and that he said to him is right here, and I just thought that these 2 episodes were really, really, really well done. I'm very, very excited to see what happens in episode 5.
Yeah, and another thing that they're teasing for the next episode is, besides Mephisto, is that they're saying that there's a cameo, and it's by a well-known actor, allegedly, again, and it's playing an MCU character that we have not seen yet, and all Marvel characters. I don't know, and the only thing that they've said is that it's somebody that they would like to see team up with Thor. That is the only hint that we've been given.
I didn't see this. Where did you see this from?
It wasn't on We Got This Covered. I can promise you that.
It would not even be discussed on the show if that was.
No, it wouldn't. It would have been.
We did not do our We Got This Covered segment of This Is Bullshit.
No, we decided to stop it because we didn't even want to give them the time of day. But I think it was on like a Heroic Hollywood. They did an interview with him, which Heroic Hollywood is they're really good, so they do their stuff. So. I don't know. Let's say, Sue. I want to know how Sam isn't getting his ass kicked. He's not a super soldier. But again, though, at least in the comic books, though, Sue, when Sam does become Captain America in the comics, he never gets the super soldier serum. Sorry, spoiler right there. He's just a dude, and he's just a good man. Like, Erskine would have been proud of him, and Steve chose to, and that adds a whole nother level to Sam Wilson's Captain America, that he doesn't have the super soldier serum. He's just like that dude, and he's able to hold his own with super soldiers. Well, and he is, so
remember the fight he had with Rumlow at the end of Winter Soldier. I mean, the 2 of them just kicked the shit out of each other for, up and down, whatever floor they were on, and then he ended up, ejecting himself out of the building into the helicopter that Nick Fury was flying with one eye, might I add.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it really is, because I always thought you needed 2 eyes to fly a helicopter, but this is Nick Fury, I guess. So, but anyway, I he did look. Sam has always been, a dude that can give a beating, take a beating, and and honestly, when he's got those wings on, bro, he uses that tech. He knows how to use it. You saw him in this time.
Yeah.
He knows how to use the wings to his advantage. He used the thrust to his advantage. So, he's in. He knows what he's doing, and we're going to see him with that shield at some point or another. I know it's coming.
So before we move on, like 2 things actually, quick that Tony we wanted to ask you. We didn't get a chance to talk to you last week about it. Is number 1, who do you think is the power broker?
Oh, you know what, bro? There's been so much shit going on that I haven't really given it all that much thought. To be, I really haven't. I don't know.
It could be. We speculated here that it could be Zemo the entire time.
Sure.
It could be Zemo all along.
Yeah.
It's possible. It could be Sharon.
Mhm.
Maybe Sharon's the power broker. Or the power broker is somebody we just haven't met yet. And maybe that's the character
Maybe
that
It could be the cameo. Sure.
Yeah, maybe that's the
Absolutely,
cameo.
it could be.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Reed Richards, obviously. It could be Victor Von Doom.
We're waiting for that Reed Richards thing. Is that when it finally happens, we're going to be like, finally.
Finally.
It's
We're
gonna
not
be-
even going to be
We've been
excited. We're going to be
waiting
like,
too
oh,
long.
thank God. All right, get it over with.
Reed Richards is going to be like the Avengers Assemble line of the MCU. Like, we're going to wait 12 years for him to show up, and all of a sudden he's going to show up and be like, there it is. Finally happened.
Dude, that shit still gives me goosebumps every single time I watch Endgame, man. When then you see everyone coming together and it's like Avengers. And I still remember, Jason, we were in the theater and I was like,
Yep.
Bro.
Assemble!
When I saw it, when I saw it in the theater the first time, that scene, they call it the portal scene, right?
Yes.
That's what it is. It's the song is called Portals, which
Mhm.
I if anybody hasn't done it, go on Apple Music. If you have Apple Music, go to Apple Music and just listen to that song without the context. Close your eyes, and I guarantee you can play that entire scene in your head. Right, this what's spoken, because it is unbelievable, and it will give you chills to listen to it. It is unbelievable. So, but that scene in my theater was people were up, like people when that shit happened, when he said on your left and those portals opened up, it was like a fucking standing ovation. Like people were standing up and they were applauding and they were all showing up and going crazy when Spider-Man showed up and when Star-Lord came out and all of it. It was like people going crazy. And then it would the crescendo building and everything, and then you hear Avengers, the entire theater went silent.
Yeah.
You could hear a fucking pin drop in that theater. And when he said, you heard him say it clear as day, assemble. And it was like when Thor screamed, the entire goddamn theater screamed. It was great. But that was yes.
Oh, man.
If you haven't already listened to that Portal song in your car, in your house, wherever it is, put that shit loud and listen to it, because it will make your skin crawl. That's how powerful that scene is, that you don't even have to watch it. You just got to hear the music and it'll make you remember the whole thing.
Yeah, we'll get to a few of Sue's comments. She also has some interesting ideas about who the power broker could be. But if you listen to the director's cut, I guess, with the commentary, they talk about the importance of music.
Yep.
Music's essential to film. Very, very essential to everything. We talked about a couple of weeks ago with Justice League. When they were Justice League and Elfman came in and did his thing, even the same scenes, that music just wasn't right. And then, Junkie XL comes in, he does his own music for that and makes those scenes instantly better. Even if the lines were still the same, it automatically elevates it to another level. So
I recommend going and listening to that soundtrack too, because that's awesome as well. I went and did that just recently. I just recently listened to the soundtrack to the Zack Snyder Justice League, and that's great also, just to listen to each thing breaking down, and you could just remember the parts that they went in. It is so important to film. The scoring and the music are so important.
So let's see what you guys think of this, by the way, for Power Broker stuff. I don't think it's Nick Fury.
Nope.
Nah,
I would be surprised if it's Nick Fury, but I won't rule anything out. I mean, listen, we've talked about lots of wacky stuff during WandaVision. Fury would be really one that's there. It could be New Master 69.
That would actually be hysterical.
That would be hilarious if that was the case.
That would be awesome.
There's also a lot of people who have speculated that when Deadpool was introduced into the MCU in Deadpool 3, is that we're going to find out he was New Master the entire time, which would be priceless.
That I agree with.
That's hysterical.
Yes. That could be a definite.
Wow, she's really driving this one home. Yes. Okay, all right. So that's fine. Maybe we'll find out in a week or two. I don't know.
I have a power broker theory. All right.
Oh, let's hear it.
Go.
All right. So we saw in the club Zemo getting his mojo on.
Oh boy.
Mojo confirmed. Right.
Mojo
there.
could be the power broker. It could be. It could be.
Jason,
it could be anyone.
Can I tell you the fact that I respect the shit out of the idea that Mojo is the hill that you chose to die on? I absolutely love that. That you are just. That would be like me with everything Magneto. That's it. Magneto's the power broker. Like
Magneto could be the power broker.
Magneto's going to show up in Loki.
Here's the difference. Magneto might eventually, or probably will eventually, show up in the MCU.
Oh, no question.
I am dying on a hill for a character we are never going to get, and I know it.
Jason, I really hope that we get Mojo in the X-Men reboot. I really hope I hope he's the one that they choose to go with right out the gates. I really hope that's the case.
Bro, I just want them to say Mojo at this point. It doesn't even have to be about the character. All I got to do is get somebody somewhere in the MCU, and when we do our MCU rewatch, I'm going to be listening on every word. If the word Mojo is ever used, and Jason, then you can go and literally hang your hat on the fact that it was there someplace. But sometime, somewhere, that word's going to come up, and I will give you credit at that point.
Thank you. You know what? I can't wait till we go into those and do our Mojo rewatch.
Yeah, that's it. That's going to be the theme of the MCU rewatch. Is going to be the search for Mojo.
What if it's an X-Men? I'm going to say no, even though Madrigal is involved and everything else. No, I do not think it is. I don't think they're introducing the X-Men through this. They can lay some breadcrumbs maybe, but nothing.
Not in a show. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think the X-Men are going to be. Are going to come out of a show. I think it's going to come out of a movie.
And what's up? Thanks, Boss Man, for checking us out. Hey, fellas. What is up there, Farachi? All right. So speaking of things that Jason can't wait for every single week, let's shift gears to the CW verse. And let's talk about Batwoman, season 2, episode 9. Jay, I'm gonna say I actually like the episode. I think they had another good one. I don't hate every episode. I know it probably sounds like me and you just trash this show every single week. I have some what the fuck moments because that can't not happen.
I don't even watch it. I trash it.
Exactly. Like, I mean, what did you think of this week's episode?
It wasn't bad. I don't think it was as good as last week's. I really enjoyed the one we watched last time more. Mostly because there was a lot. I think I just thought last week's was funnier, but this week was good. I like not to go over all of the things I always say, like I like this Batgirl. You know that.
Yeah, no.
You watch the show,
we agree. Yeah,
yeah. But I thought it was really clever. I think the moment that made me go, oh, this is really something here, is the Roman Cyanus scene when he comes in to see Papa Crow with the snake bite serum. So in the beginning of the episode, for anyone who didn't see it, they kind of they kidnap Papa Crow, or not kidnap him, but they kind of knock him out and they inject him with the snake bite serum because the crows are trying. Their whole thing is to get the snake bite serum, which is this highly addictive drug, which allows you to revisit a memory and set it right. So you get to revisit a traumatic moment in your past and mentally think that you're setting it right, which I think is really interesting. So I got to give the show credit for that. That's interesting. But so they get him addicted to the snake bite stuff. And, Roman Cyanus, who we all know, I don't think it's been revealed as the Black Mask. I don't remember if they revealed it, but we all know. I mean,
we all know Roman Cyanus is Black Mask.
Right.
Yeah.
So he comes walking in like he didn't set this guy, Papa Crow up with this addiction. And it's like, oh, by the by, I just happen to have done a random check of my employees' lockers, and I found this snake bite stuff. I know you want it off the street, so maybe you can take care of it for me. And I thought that was really clever.
Because he's addicted,
Yeah, because Black Mask gets him addicted and then comes to him as Roman Cyanus, who, is a friend, who has, is considered a pillar of the community. There's no reason to question him, and sort of gets him further hooked. I really liked that a lot. I thought that was really clever. So, there was some good stuff. I don't really have anything to trash. There's some what the fuck moments, but let me just put it this way. They only mentioned the words Kate twice, and it was not followed by Kane. So that's a win for me. That's a win.
It is a huge win. I will tell you, I'm going to just say my what the fuck moment of this episode, though, was the scene you just talked about. When Commander Kane, and I do, by the way, I love the name Papa Crow, so I might even switch it to that. That's fantastic, by the way, Jay.
Thank you.
Is that so the second episode in a row, we get somebody in their SUV, getting snuck up from behind.
That's right.
In the Crows parking lot for the second week in a row. They're the fucking security team that displaced the GCPD. You guys suck at security, man. What the fuck?
I think the Crows. I think the Crows need to hire a security team to secure their premises.
They should hire the GCPD to watch their asses. That's what they should do. Holy shit, man.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
I was like, I paused it and I turned to Angie and I'm like, again? This happened again? 2 weeks in a row now? To the top two people with the Crows? Come on, man. But overall, like, Ryan is on a mission tracking down the head of the, she tracks down the head of the prison system. She finds out that she's releasing prisoners to take down like youth centers and stuff like that so he can keep the prison system going, essentially keeping the wheel turning and blah, 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 which is a pretty messed up thing to do.
And which I want to give them credit for trying some social commentary.
Yeah. And it wasn't like crazy over the top. It was
No, it was legit. Like this guy was a normal guy, a warden who was profiting off of his prisoners. So he is taking means to make sure that kids slip through the cracks. Like it was such a street level thing that I think it was the right amount of commentary for this show.
Yeah, exactly. And Alice, she teams up with Agent Pennyworth. I think that's Alfred's daughter.
Alfred's daughter,
daughter, right? Yeah. So they're on their own mission, tracking down a character named Enigma, which I'm hoping is not replacing Edward Nygma.
Yeah,
but they haven't said that. They haven't said that though. They're just saying it's another character, which is fine. She has this like mind warping thing where she kind of like makes you forget shit, and Alice wants to forget all the stuff that's been driving her these 2 seasons, which is the fact that Commander Kane didn't stopped his search for his daughter, which is, when you think about it, is a pretty fucked up thing. I kind of understand where Alice is coming from in that sense. So she wants to just forget that and kind of just move on, because it seems like she knows she can't move on without forgetting that. So that's their whole thing. Ryan convinces Angelique to talk, to give up Black Mask, because she's in prison and won't talk. So that is one thing. But at the end of the episode, we find out that the False Face Society kidnaps Angelique when she's broken out again by the Crows, getting their ass handed to them. But now by the False Face Society, it seems like every 15 to 20 minutes they get their asses handed to them by the False Face Society.
Who's paying for this extra money for the Crows? Because the taxes, the Gotham City taxes, pays for the GCPD. Who's spending all this extra money for these jobbers to get their asses kicked by like goons? Because that's all that's happening. They get a
refund. Yeah, it's pretty bad. They're not very good. I think they should get fired, all of them. Luke Fox actually has a pretty awesome Aquaman reference when he's saying, "Oh, you're going to think it's this person this week and this person the next week. Next week it's going to be Aquaman." So I kind of think they're confirming in a quick way that Aquaman exists. There's an Aquaman in this CW verse, which I would like to see on another show. But it's that I thought that was kind of cool. The dumb radio host, by the way, who came back, she's been gone for weeks. The stupid voice that drops in wonders if Batwoman has her own Lois Lane. So again, tying in the fact that, hey, Superman and Lois, you guys do exist in the same Earth. You're on Earth Prime too. So hello, we're here. I thought that was cool. And then Angelique actually says, I thought it was my favorite line of the episode, where she's talking to Ryan and she's like, "Oh yeah, are you and Batwoman like super friends with benefits?" Which I don't know how she drew that conclusion. That seemed like a very jealous person that really jumped to there. But I actually laughed out loud when I heard that line, because I thought it was actually a genuinely funny line.
I did too, and I thought it was, and of course I thought it's funny, like, oh, she doesn't know, it's impossible, because they're this, I had that moment in my head for a second. But yeah, no, I thought that was a fun line, and I actually do like that character. She's crazy, and I absolutely see her as being crazy jealous like that, our Batwoman was in an abusive relationship, in my opinion, before she left this woman. And I hope they don't get back together, because I like this Batwoman. I don't want to see her being in another abusive relationship. But I thought that line worked, and that line was funny, and I'm just agreeing.
All right, so we'll see where that goes. And Black Mask was there, and the episode does open where Batwoman is literally beating the crap out of people like trying to find out. She gets in front of a camera, is calling out Black Mask. So, and we find out another point in the episode where he's offing his people again. Like he really is out there. I'm intrigued. The Black Mask thing, I'm kind of into it. So
it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see where that goes.
And he has this very supervillain way when he kills him, and it cuts to he's already shot the guy or woman or whatever, the goon, and he's like, "Does anyone else want to apologize that we haven't sold any more snake bite?" Which I thought that was just a funny thing. Like, oh, this guy was just apologizing. Bang! Anyone else? Like that I thought was really fun.
So, if anyone who does watch us on a regular, if you think we're here to shit on Batwoman, it kind of sounds like they won us over 2 episodes in a row. So they kind of got us hooked in with this Black Mask stuff. So
that's it.
We're starting to disappoint.
Keep Kate Kane out of the equation, and I can appreciate these episodes. I have to say, and this is actually, I'm going to say this has nothing to do with the actress. This has to do with just the incessant barrage of Kate Caning since I started watching season 2 of a character that isn't there. I texted you guys and Ed, we were talking in the beginning. I finally got up to the in my Flash rewatch where I could watch Crisis on Infinite Earth, and I found Kate Kane so insufferable. And I don't know if it's because I don't like the character or because this season of Batwoman has made me so adverse to the character because it's just all I hear in this show. Like, I think that if there was any chance of me liking Batwoman season 1, it was ruined by the fact that they just kept trying to jam this dead character down our throat this season. So I'm happy that that's gone.
For someone who watched it in real time, I didn't really care for Kate Kane either.
Okay.
I thought she was very dry. She was very blah. And Crisis on Infinite Earths, even though I've said how I don't think it's their best crossover by any stretch of the imagination, it has a lot of good things. It has a lot of bad things in it. Like the story was just kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But the cameos galore was supposed to be like, oh, look, over here. Like, it's actually pretty cool. And it did work at times on me. I'm not going to lie. She was the weakest link out of the entire team up of the CW Justice League, because they do form at the end, they form their own Justice League. She's the weakest link to it. Even Jobber Superman, who now is not Jobber Superman, was even better than her. So whatever. I think they upgraded, and I really don't give a shit. She's gone. Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, she ain't gone. Oh, they ain't.
Oh, no. The character's not gone, but at least Ruby Rose is gone. I mean, and I don't want to be like, I liked her in John Wick Chapter 2. Actually, I like her a lot in that. But that's kind of what you kind of got to give her. Like, there's not a lot of acting.
A mute.
And she can do action, though. I mean, I don't know how much of her own stunt she did in that movie, but
yeah, it's when she talks. It's when she talks is the problem.
Yeah, it's just she's not just a great actress.
I said, bro, what I say when we talked about, we brought that up a couple weeks ago. What I say? I said there was a reason why she was a mute in that movie.
Yeah, true. It's true.
Because they were probably like, look, this girl can kick some ass, but every time she opens her mouth, nobody wants to hear it. So just let's make a mute, and that's it.
Yeah. All right. So, Jason got a birthday present this week, by the way.
Oh, happy birthday, bro! I forgot to tell
you.
I did. I told you on Facebook or whatever, but I wanted to wish you happy birthday on the show. So God bless.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Jason, how did you enjoy your birthday gift?
You know what? This was not the gift I was expecting. I feel betrayed.
Oh!
I feel betrayed. I like this episode, but I want to be clear. This was not an episode of Black Lightning. This was the backdoor pilot for Painkiller. This is officially the backdoor pilot for Painkiller because I looked it up.
No, it legitimately is. It
legitimately is. Because I was watching it and I'm like, this reminds me of, I don't know if you guys used to watch the show Married with Children, right?
Yeah.
Oh, 100 years ago.
Yeah, so I used to watch that as a kid all the time. So I love that show. And The Simpsons, back to back. Mm-hmm. And I remember the one episode where they had the backdoor pilot for the failed sitcom with Matt LeBlanc called Top of the Heap, right? Yeah. And it's like, this is Al's first sleazy friend, and now we're going to follow these. And I remember as a kid going, what the fuck does this have to do with Married with Children? And about 15 minutes into this, I went, oh, this is a backdoor pilot, isn't it? And I looked it up, and it is. So I didn't get my Jefferson Pierce. I didn't get. Not once. I didn't get.
How do you have an episode of a show and then not give the star of the show in an episode?
That was weird.
It's a backdoor pilot.
Backdoor pilot. I didn't get my Tobias Whale. I didn't get my my Lala. I didn't get what I love about this show.
That's
So
bullshit.
I was a bit disappointed. But having said that, I did like the episode a lot. I like the guy. I like the kid. The guy they got to play Painkiller. I actually always liked him on the show. I thought that this sets up a nice, interesting dynamic of he's got like the programmed killer inside of him, and now he's like I really did like when in the beginning when he's trying. So like the whole setup for this is Anissa and her wife finally go on their honeymoon, and it just so happens to be in this club resort that Painkiller owns because he had stolen him and some new character that's his guy in the chair stole some money from who was the organization?
AC.
It was the big, pretty much the who Odell was working with. In the war against the Markovians. I forget what they were. And so like they stole some money. That guy used to work for that. He's like a Gambi sort of, where he can't go back to that organization, and so he's helping Painkiller. So that's kind of the setup. Painkiller like gets out and sees Anissa and almost kills her and poisons her, and that's how she is MIA for the rest of the episode, because she has nothing to do with this episode outside of being in a hospital bed rather. But there is a cool scene where ASA, thank you. There is a cool scene where I forget what the guy's real name is. It's not Painkiller. Khalil. Yeah. So there is a where Khalil, who's dressed in white, is sitting there very zen reading a book, and the same actor is playing Painkiller, and he looks very different, which I thought was cool. They made those two incarnations look different. Mm-hmm. He's wearing all black, and he just keeps going, "Give her to me." One. And he's trying to talk him down. It's this like inner conflict of, the good side and the bad side. And then eventually he kicks the hell out of the bad side and takes over. I thought that was really well done. I like this setup. This, I think, will be a good show. It just wasn't Black Lightning. It just wasn't. Had I knew I was walking into a backdoor pilot, I probably would have appreciated it more. Again, I am looking forward to the show when it's coming on, and I did like it, but I miss my Jefferson Pierce.
I will say that I know you watch it on the CWF. I watch it. I set my DVR for these shows, and I see the title, and I saw the title was Episode 7 Painkiller. So I knew, and I already knew before the season that this was coming, because CW was hoping to spin off Painkiller, and I think they're even saying that Anissa might be on that show as well if it does get picked up. This isn't the first time CW Verse has also tried this, because they did try it at the end of Arrow. They tried a backdoor pilot for his daughter, who ends up becoming Green Arrow, and the two Black Canaries, Dinah and Laura Lance. And they the three of them team up after Oliver dies. And it's set in the future. And I actually kind of dug that. And I was curious to see if it got picked up. It didn't get picked up. They already shut that down. Painkiller, we'll see what happens if that is, because I wasn't sure if I liked the character of Painkiller, but I wasn't sure if I wanted an entire show based on him. But I'm sure there were people back in the day who watched Cheers like I did and was like, do I really want to see a show about Frasier? And apparently people did like it. I didn't really. I actually never even watched Frasier as much as I love Cheers.
I love that show.
A lot of people do.
I love that show. Niles Crane is one of the greatest characters.
He is.
My God, he was so unbelievable in that show. I loved it.
So spinoffs do work. I mean, it's not like
absolutely.
They don't. Yeah,
they absolutely can work, but it's got to be. It's one of these things where, again, you can't force it. They didn't say at the end of Cheers that we're going to give Norm his own show. Norm was a funny character, but he sat at the end of the bar and drank beer. Like that was the end of it. Like Frasier, there was like a little depth there where they can go and do something. Yeah. So if they tried to push a Norm, spin-off off of Cheers, no one would have watched that show. Or Woody. Woody was an idiot. That was the whole idea of the character. It was just like he was there for comic relief. Frasier, there was a lot there. There was the whole thing with Lilith, and then there was the fact that he was, why was this guy who, this very intelligent kind of guy hanging out with these the Neanderthal types and whatnot. There was depth there. But if you try to force it just because a character is popular, it doesn't work. It doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, and the thing was, though, Painkiller is a very interesting character, and I felt that this backdoor pilot made him even more interesting because they kind of presented him in a completely different way, where we got to see more. They did show in his mind the internal struggle he has, like literally, and they showed that a lot here. And like Jason, like you said, they had like Khalil in the white outfit and like more Zen-like, and Painkiller even had like a different voice and a different look and everything. And he kind of like they had to work together to survive, which was interesting.
It was interesting, and you know what? This, if you asked me before I watched this, if I thought the guy who played Painkiller or the character of Painkiller could carry his own show, I would have said no. But after watching this, I think he could. That guy's a good actor. I mean, there were times where he was playing off himself, where I'm like, is that the same dude playing the two guys? Because they just look different. He carries himself different. Like, so I think this was effective for me in the sense that I would watch this. Like, I don't know if I would like it because I'd have to watch it, but I would watch this. And it actually helps jumping to the end. Odell is apparently coming back in it. Like, Odell's daughter is apparently like one of the big bads they're setting up, and you see him at the end. I thought that guy was a great villain.
Yeah,
like for the Black Lightning seasons that I wanted them to do more with. So if they're going to do more with him, and I get to see the guy who plays Painkiller like show all of this range, and the action was good. Like, there was a scene where he walks into this building and he goes in as Khalil, and he has this sort of, and I really like this. He has this interaction with the Painkiller side, and Painkiller, just so they set up in case you haven't watched it, the Painkiller side is in physical or mental agony until he kills the Pierces because of the programming that Odell put into him. So that's why he's always trying to do it. It's not that he's evil. It's the only way he can stop being in pain, which I found that was very interesting. And then they sort of set up this accord, like, okay, I will behave myself, but I also want to survive. So if things get too much for you, tag me in. And so he goes in as Khalil and tries to do it the peaceful way, and then he switches to Painkiller, and the guy kills like 50 people on his own. He's like a murder machine. So like the action is there. I think the twist they're putting on the character is there. The actor, I really like him. Odell's coming back. I mean, if Anissa comes to the show, that'd be fine. I'd actually much rather see Lala because I don't know where it would fit in. I just think that is a character that was completely underserved, in my opinion, throughout Black Lightning, and I kind of want to see him more teased out of him.
Yeah.
But I didn't get my Black Lightning fix, but I did enjoy this, and I am hoping that this gets picked up for at least a season to see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it does work out. I actually really like the scenery that they set up there. It was kind of like Japan, like futuristic Japan in a way, and it was very different from what we get to see in Black Lightning. I thought that was cool. It had its own like flavor to it, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, Black Lightning to me is more of like I'm a guy with powers but a family. It's more of like a sort of street level, down to earth. We're not doing. I mean, outside of the Markovian Wars, we're not doing anything really crazy, right?
Yeah.
But this strikes me as we're kind of going to do like a techno futuristic noir with super action, and this strikes me as something that might get a bit crazy in a good way if they do it correctly.
Yeah, and I don't know if you had a chance to. Over last summer, I caught on Netflix Altered Carbon, and it kind of reminded me in a weird way of that. They stopped it after 2 seasons. Anthony Mackie is actually in the 2nd season.
Oh,
he's the main character in that. I don't know if it's going to go that crazy because that show, like, it required multiple viewings of episodes because I kind of like got a little bit lost with like the technical jargon at times. But this show kind of reminded me like of a more coherent Altered Carbon in a way. Not saying that Altered Carbon is not coherent, but like you really need to keep up on the jargon that they're spitting at you a lot because you can get lost. At least I got lost pretty easily. All right, so let's touch on the latest episode of The Flash, season 7, episode 7. Off the bat, not my favorite episode, honestly. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like that great. I mean, overall, like Barry is someone's trying to set up Killer Frost throughout the episode because in the last episode we know that the person from I don't know, it was like the FBI or something like that was sent in to take down Killer Frost and to finally bring her into justice. And now in this episode, she overtakes Joe and the whole Central City PD, and they're trying to do that. And then somebody goes ahead and sets up Frost, and it's a guy who kind of replicates her abilities through like these like bracelets he has, kind of in a way. And that's kind of that part of it. And at the same time, Barry's trying to clear her name. But then Barry's also dealing with the best part of this episode, I think, for me, was Barry dealing with the Speed Force taking the form of his mother, Nora, who passed away. And the Speed Force is kind of like embodied in her and is living amongst them, is living in the house with Iris and Barry. And she's just, in a way, trying to be a mother inadvertently to Barry, and it starts weirding him out. That like he's the visual of seeing the Speed Force as his mother, and as someone trying to act as his mother, trying to like take care of him and stuff. And you can see it's bothering him throughout the episode with that. I thought that was actually really interesting. The Killer Frost stuff, I was like, whatever, and then she ends up like essentially like there's this whole thing where they arrest Caitlin Snow because someone knows that like they were the same person. Now they're different people. And I don't know. I didn't love the episode. The Barry stuff with the Speed Force was my favorite part of it. But there was one really funny scene in the bar when when Frost is talking to the bartender, and he does this thing where he ends up like taking his shirt off.
Oh yeah,
and they play funny. Nelly's "It's Hot in Here."
Yeah,
and the whole thing was actually really funny, and I thought it was like. It was more of like what you normally see, the genders reversed, where like that would be happening with some woman, usually like a bikini or something like that, doing that, but they flipped it around, and I thought it was actually really, really funny. And the song that they played, the second they started playing it, I was dying laughing. And I'm like, what the hell is going on right now?
I agree. That was probably my favorite part of the episode, like my favorite moment of the episode. Yeah. I to be honest with you, because I've been watching so much Flash, this episode didn't register much for me, because it was all right. Like I agree with you. I have nothing to add. The stuff with him and the Speed Force, like trying to be his mother and him kind of being weirded out and having this, sort of take it easy, you ruin things, like that was interesting. I didn't think it was interesting enough to carry the whole episode. And the Killer Frost stuff, again, I go back to, I just watched season 4 where they said Killer Frost was pardoned. I don't know why they're still hunting her, but whatever. I've seen nothing since season 4 when they said she was pardoned to now that somehow she'd be on the list again. But whatever. Now I'm just nitpicking. But yeah, I didn't find it like it wasn't as interesting to me as the episodes we've seen so far, to be honest. So I'd kind of consider this a dud, and so far a pretty good season of this.
Yeah, no, I think Flash has been really good this season, and especially what they've had to tackle with wrapping up the Mirrorverse and like now starting the whole thing with kind of seems like the forces of nature in a way, like the Speed Force and I always forget the big strong dudes like name and stuff like that. There's different forces that are there and they're coming together. I just thought it was like a very filler episode. That just the Barry with his mother stuff I thought was interesting, because I can see where that, and once they just started diving into that and not in a goofy way, is when I was like, okay, I can get into this. But all right, so not too much on the Flash, but before we switch over to Supergirl, we have a quick surprise comment from our buddy. Why did you say that name?
What?
Rick, why did you say that name?
Why did you say that name? Is your mother also Martha? Do you want to join the Martha Club?
we could have had that in Godzilla versus Kong too, but no spoilers.
That's right. No Martha. By the way, completely unrelated, Ed, and I should have told you this off screen, but I finally went back and watched King Kong Skull Island or Kong Skull Island.
Kong Skull Island.
You were not wrong, my friend. That is one entertaining movie.
Right? I just got it. It just showed up yesterday. I cannot wait to watch. That's next. I'm gonna go through that. So I am. I can't wait to watch it. I just got it.
It's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Yes, Rick. We all three of us do love you.
Rick, I think I said you're who I want to be when I grow up. I think I've said that on a previous show.
He did. He actually did say that. You can go back and check the receipts. He absolutely did. No, Kong Skull Island is awesome. Come on, it's Sam Jackson against King Kong. Come on, man.
So funny.
How awesome is that?
It hit all the right buttons for me. I enjoyed it in all the right ways. It was so. I just wanted to thank you for sort of pushing me to go back and take a look at that.
Jason, I think we'll agree that if one of us is pushing the other to really watch a movie or something like that, it's probably a reason for that.
Which is why I always go. Which is why I always listen to
you. So let's talk about Supergirl quickly. Season 6, episode 3. I kind of thought of it very much as kind of like The Flash. I thought this was a filler episode. Kara is still in the Phantom Zone. She's there. I actually wanted to get your take on the person that she finds in the Phantom Zone, another fifth dimension imp. And I don't think you knew that he was on the show before.
And this is something I was actually going to say that I lost all when I saw her come up and she said, "Yes, my cousin, right, is Mixaplik," and I went, "Wait! I get live action Mixaplik in my rewatch."
Oh, you do.
How was I sleeping on this for so long? Like that made this episode worth. Like, you're right. This episode is a filler episode. Not really much happens. There's some cool stuff with Mixaplik's cousin, who's also stuck in the Phantom Zone. Kara inspires her to sort of, let's go save my dad from the Phantoms, and they do that. And they're thinking about getting out. It's it's not bad, but it's not the best we've seen. But none of that matters to me because now I know that when I do my Supergirl rewatch and I'm almost there, I've just got he comes oh god, and I'm almost through this last season. I just finished Crisis on Infinite Earth, so I don't have much to go with. What I'm going to say is probably my least favorite season so far of The Flash, which is last season.
Yeah.
But so this episode, I'm giving it 4 stars just because it is the thing that told me I get real life Mixaplik. He's my favorite Superman villain.
That is awesome. I did not know he was your favorite, but you're gonna get him in 2 episodes of Supergirl.
I'm so excited.
One of them is, if I remember right, one of them is a Valentine's Day episode.
Of course it is. That's so awesome.
And it's actually hilarious. It's a pretty great episode. The other stuff going on here, where they're fighting the Phantoms. We actually do find out what the Phantoms can do. The Phantoms, they'll go ahead and they pass their stuff on to people. They turn people into Phantoms because we see the vampire dude gets turned into a Phantom as well. That's all fine. There's a lot of things that give John Jones, Martian Manhunter does some stuff in this episode. But not a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, we have to see what the hell, Alex in her stupid David Bowie costume that I can't get out of my head now. Every time I see it, I get actually upset every time she puts her damn suit on. It's so stupid, man. Oh my god, that really pisses me off. But whatever. Just a filler episode. Not great. Yeah. I mean, I actually enjoyed the Flash episode this week more than Supergirl. I want Kara out of the damn Phantom Zone already. Just let's go, man.
You only enjoyed the Flash more because you already knew Mixaplik was in the mix. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, but we did get some Lex. Lex got LexCorp back. That is one thing.
We did get some Lex, and I thought it was interesting. I actually really liked the interchange between him and his sister. It was like, you hate me too much, and she's like, I'm just walking away. You'll lose everything. No, I'm just walking away. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and she's like, I hate you, but I love me more.
Yeah,
which is a pretty great line.
It was a pretty great line, and it's kind of this is how she gets revenge because Lex needs this, right? Lex wants to fight with her. He lives for this conflict. He lives for conflict, apparently, of all kinds, and he needs to win. So the fact that she kind of just walks away and says, "You don't get to win because the game is over," I thought that was a really cool part of the episode.
And he walks out, by the way, when he does his phantom thing or whatever the hell he has. I forgot the name of it again. So where he just kind of he travels around and stuff. He goes off pretty pissed off even after he has LexCorp back. I don't know they don't show where he's going. And by the way, Otis gets to do Kablooey in a children's hospital. I'm sorry, I glossed over this, and as I'm talking about it, I remember that Otis does get Kablooey, and he blows up a bunch. Lex blows up a children's hospital just to prove a point to his sister.
Which I think is a pretty badass statement.
Yes.
Not one that I condone.
Yes,
but if you're if you're gonna supervillain right, and that's the right way to supervillain.
Yeah, he absolutely does. And it just keeps driving home the point, man. I'm sorry. I keep saying it and I'm not backing off it. John Cryer's the best live action Lex Luthor, man. I'm sorry, Gene Hackman, Kevin Spacey, Jesse Eisenberg, whatever.
I'm not sorry, Jesse Eisenberg.
He's better than all of them combined. I will even say that. I love this Lex, and I really, really am going to be annoyed if I don't see him on Super. I hope he's getting LexCorp back and becoming full-blown Lex so he can take on Superman, whether it be in season 2 or at the end of this season, whatever the hell it is. I got to see those two together again, man. I actually don't even think, even in Crisis on Infinite Earths, though, we don't really see those two go at it much.
No, not those two. Although, oh God, he does do something which I hated, which he in Crisis on Infinite Earth, and I know we're not talking about that, but how do you give me like Brandon Routh? That's the guy's name.
Brandon Routh, yeah.
Right. How do you give me him as old, like sort of older, like
Kingdom
Clark
Come
Kent,
Superman? Yeah.
Kingdom Come Superman, but he's completely channeling like the Christopher Reeves version of it. You got the music. How do you just kill him off by Lex going, "Oh, I stole a page from the Monitor's Book of Destiny and wrote my name over his symbol, and now I'm him and he's dead"? Come on, people. I'm sorry. Brandon Routh was literally seeing him as Superman was one of my favorite Superman moments ever. So to see it squashed like that, very sad.
But hold
anyway,
on a second though. Is that how it ended though? I thought he did the flyover and everything like that at the end of Crisis. No,
I don't.
I thought he did. Brandon Routh does the flyover at the end.
All right, I'll go back and check because I finished it late last night.
Yeah,
I'll go back and check, but the last time I remember seeing him was Lex doing that, where he literally just takes over. Yeah. But I'll go back and check. Maybe I missed that because
I was falling
asleep last night when I was watching it.
Yeah, no, you saw it more recently than I did. I haven't watched it since it aired. I thought he did the whole flyover at the end after Oliver sacrifices himself, and they show the different Earths. Remember, they show like Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern Earth, which I still think is hilarious and pretty ballsy of them to do that.
That is
and
pretty
then
awesome.
They showed like the Teen Titans Earth that's still going with Doom Patrol, and then they show like Earth Prime is like the main one. And I could have sworn on Earth something or other, Brandon Routh Superman ends doing the fly. Double check that actually. I could
double check. You might be right because again, I watched it late last night before I went to sleep, so I might have missed. I wasn't like paying as much attention as I
But they
so
do.
I'll double check it.
They are saying though that because remember Brandon Routh plays the continuation in Superman Returns of Christopher Reeve Superman. This is that Superman. Yeah, this is that Superman.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I loved it so much because it's like as much as I like Cavill and as much as I like this new guy, and I've liked different Supermans, like because my first Superman was Christopher Reeve, like to me that just feels like Superman, and so seeing that felt like sort of it's Superman from my childhood. It's the closest we're gonna get because Christopher Reeve is dead. Yeah. So anyway, I've derailed our conversation.
No, it's fine.
No, not at all.
This actually this has to do. This is CW verse, man.
Christopher Reeve was my, obviously, huge. I loved the original Superman movies, but as great as he was, I just Henry Cavill is my Superman now. He really is. I mean, and I think Taylor Hoechlin does a great job on Superman and Lois. I really do. I like him in the role, but Cavill is just he's like it's like he was born to play Superman. Like he looks the part. He's awesome.
I love Cavill.
I love it.
Tony, if there's a highlight reel thing, I'm gonna send it to you on YouTube, or if you can find it. If you can just see, because I know you didn't see Crisis on Infinite Earths, Brandon Routh Superman. It's a heartwarming thing to see him finally get his stage in that.
Yeah,
his recognition because he is awesome in the role.
He is.
He's probably him and Lex. I honestly are my favorite parts of Crisis on Infinite Earths. To see those two is fantastic.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but like Routh was not. I didn't dislike him in Superman Returns. I thought Kevin Spacey was phenomenal. Yeah. As Lex. It's just that he just got a shit story. I mean, that's just the way that it just shook out. It was terrible. So, like to continue on from the Christopher Reeve story. with Routh, and then what was her name? What the hell? Who played Lois? What the hell was her name? It wasn't Elisa Cuthbert, was it? No, it was fuck, I cannot think of her name right now. Her face is right here, and I cannot.
Kate Bosworth.
That's who it was.
Yes.
Yeah, that shit didn't work. That didn't work at all.
No,
so,
it didn't.
But I mean, look, I thought Routh did a good job. Like he did whatever he could with what they gave him. And again, Spacey, I thought was just out of this world. But it was a shit story. But I mean, Cavill is just he's like he was born for this part. Sorry, Jason.
I love Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor in that movie.
And if Kevin Spacey could ever get a job again, like that would be a good place for him to start. Being someone that everybody absolutely hates and that you love to hate, that would be perfect. So I mean, that would be a good start for him to come back. But I mean, I don't think you're ever going to see him. Well, I shouldn't say that. If Mel Gibson can come back, Kevin Spacey will come back.
That's true. That is 100% true.
That will happen because
that is a great point.
Because Mel Gibson was the most hated man in Hollywood.
Yeah. And
now you have, so trust me, Kevin Spacey at some point or another will come back and everyone will be like, oh, yes, very good.
Yeah. The thing with John Cryers, though, and again, no, shit, you haven't, whatever, I don't care, Jason, I'm sorry, it's going to happen. You're going to see him in the Lexo suit. You're going to see him in a lot of crazy shit. He goes full-on comic Lex Luthor in Supergirl.
That's what I'm here for, my friend.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. For. So that's why you'll see. When you're going to get Jason's reaction when he gets to see those episodes, he's going to lose his fucking mind, as I did.
And I've told you the reason why I was so reluctant for the Supergirl thing, right? It's just how I was destroyed by the original. Yes. Like I can't get those images out of my head of that, that babe in the woods kind of look on her face, during that entire movie. It's just, I don't know, just not my cup of tea.
It's a shame that you can't get it, that you've been traumatized by that.
I was
what I'm excited about this rewatch is what I'm learning from season 5 is they explore a lot of Superman lore that we would never get in a Superman movie.
Yep. There was no plan for a show at that time either. So
right. So and I don't think I don't think Mixaplex would work in Lois and Superman and Lois. I don't. There are certain villains that they're exploring in this. Or certain things they're exploring that I don't think would work, like a Brainiac. I don't think that would really work in what they're doing. So it's a shame because there is a lot of good Superman lore that they're using for Supergirl.
Yeah, now it's all kind of like used up. I'm curious to see what they adapt from one show to the next. I'm just really hoping that Lex is definitely one of them. And though, remember, Diggle is supposed to show up on Superman and Lois. And the belief is, and you saw it in Crisis, the belief is he's going to be Green Lantern, and he's going to be John Stewart Green Lantern, and they've set that whole thing up in motion. It would be shocking if it doesn't happen.
Because I really like that actor, too. And I think that actor...
I love him.
He would do so good as the John Stewart Green Lantern. And I think that's a way to bring in the Lantern Corps. They tried with the... that which will not be named, right? That debacle. Ryan Reynolds, thank you. I really just blanked on the guy's name, and I love that actor. They tried with Ryan Reynolds and Hal Jordan. It didn't work. Forget Hal Jordan. Just move on to something else and sort of reinvigorate the character. I think that's the way to do it.
Well, I mean, I think if Zach would have gotten his way, we would have definitely had him because he was supposed to be at the end of Justice League, and he got shut down.
It was the John Stewart one he was going with?
Yeah. Yep. Did you get it? So that whole thing with Martian Manhunter was only put in. So Martian Manhunter was going to show up no matter what. Okay. Because he had shot scenes. We knew that Martian Manhunter was going to show up. And that was the scene, I guess, where he was having a conversation as Martha. But the ending scene with him was not. Yeah, I said that name. I was waiting for somebody to say it.
But I was doing the look around.
I saw you. I was looking right at you, bro. I was looking right at you. But that last scene in Justice League was supposed to be John Stewart. That was who that was supposed to. And I can't wait to find out who the actor was that they had to shoot the scene because Snyder has hinted that it was a very, very talented actor. So I can't wait to hear who it ended up being, but that was who that was supposed to be, and Warner Brothers told them take it out.
Yeah,
because they're doing something, right? They're doing something.
they're doing a show. They're doing a show on Well, they're doing the CW one, right? Which is supposed to be.
I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think it has to do with the cinematic one because they wouldn't.
Yeah.
The movies and the shows are not interconnected, so I don't think
They're
they.
doing a cinematic one.
They're doing an HBO Max series of series called Green Lantern Corps.
That's what I was thinking.
That's part of it, but I don't know. Which some of the shows are connected to the DCU, some are not. But whatever.
All I can hope is that Warner Brothers get their head out of their ass and they get another Superman project. Other than look, I'm hoping that the popularity and the reviews of Superman and Lois will get them, going on something with Cavill soon because they have to. They have to. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't there a rumor floating around that Dwayne Johnson wanted Cavill to show up in Black Adam?
Yeah.
So. And I want to see somebody at Warner Brothers tell The Rock, no. I want to see that. Someone tell The Rock, yeah, no, that can't happen.
So let's speaking of Superman type things, because I know he's called on this. Let's move on to Invincible. Let's just give us some broad thoughts on the last 2 episodes, because I know Jason and I didn't get to episode 4 last week, and episode 5 did drop on Friday. But we just did not have enough time to go over that. These last 2 episodes, I went back and I rewatched episodes 2 and 3, and I kind of did like a mini marathon of it. I'm into it. I'm on board now. I'm fully on board with Invincible now. I think it's got a lot of things going for it. I think that for someone like myself who's watched The Boys, I can see the comparisons through just, some like ultra violence, and it's an adult theme show. But The Boys I still think The Boys goes to crazy places that Invincible has not. And I don't think they're going to. But that's what differentiates them. But I can see why the quick knee-jerk reaction is to compare the two. But it just seems like Mark is settling into his role as Invincible pretty nicely, because they do say time has passed and it's been a couple of months. And in episode 4, he went on a mission to Mars as an escort for NASA, who was going there in place of his father, Omni-Man. I had to mention the fact that, again, and I need to get his name correct, Jamon Hansu, who is in everything. He's the wizard in Shazam.
Yep.
He's the wizard. He's a great wizard in Shazam. Yes. He is Karath in the MCU.
Yes. He I'm sorry, he was who was he in Aquaman? He was one of the kings of
the one that they killed, the one that Orm kills
yes,
to start the war.
Yeah, and I can't remember his name.
I can't remember it either. But
whatever.
Yes, it was him
the dude is everywhere, okay? And he's also the Martian Emperor in episode 4 of Invincible. And I recognize his voice in 2 seconds because I'm like, I hear your voice a lot. I don't even need to see you anymore. That was pretty awesome. Damien Darkblood is sent back to hell. Debbie Grayson is suspicious of Omni-Man due to that. What the hell is up with Robot, by the way? And what is he doing with the Mauler twins? Because the twins over there are the ones that you're the original. Well, I'm the original.
I think what they're setting up is because, well, and they now know, like they admit that they now know Omni-Man killed the fake Justice League.
They just can't prove it. Yeah.
They just can't prove it. And it's why Detective Hellboy, which is what I think of him, because I can't remember anyone's name.
Damien Darkblood.
Damien Darkblood. That's why he's sent back, because he's getting too close. He won't let the story go. So the government, the people who are investigating and who know that Omni-Man did it, they sent him back to stop the investigation. And their whole thing is, well, we have to figure out why he did it and how to stop him, right? Yeah. And so I think what they're doing now is and you kind of see this. This is hinted in the very end of episode 5. I'm not going to jump ahead, but
no, go ahead.
It's hinted at the very episode 5 is they wanted the cloning technology, and I think that is that way in case their team dies again, they could just clone them and bring them back. Because when Invincible gets his ass beaten at the end of 5, he's on his deathbed, and they say something like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something sort of lent to the what I'm saying is that they planned on sort of cloning him if case he died.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what they're doing with those guys. Those guys, by the way, have become my favorite characters of this show because they're the twins, the cloning twins.
Yeah, the Mulder twins.
That's it. Because they're just so entertaining, and they're arguing of I'm the clone, you're the clone, you're the clone,
you're the original. Yeah.
That's probably my favorite part of the show right now.
Yeah, and Robot is up to some shit. I mean, he goes ahead and he takes a blood sample from Rexplode, which, by the way, I actually have warmed up to this guy. He's such an asshole that I actually like him now.
I listened to a podcast with the guy who voices him.
Oh, really?
The guy who voiced him is Jason Mantzoukas. He's very funny.
Yeah.
And he's on. It's like a bad movie podcast. And once I realized that was him, like once I recognized his voice, I'm like, yeah, I'm all in for this guy. I don't care what he does. I just like this actor.
Yeah. And then episode 5 though, like Invincible teams up with this character named Titan, which, by the way, another guy who's getting around is Mahershala Ali, because he's voicing him. Like, Tony, I know you haven't had a chance to really dive into Invincible yet. If you just look up the cast,
I
show,
did. I was
insane.
I was shocked.
It's completely insane.
When I saw, I had seen that Mahershala Ali was doing one of the voices. J.K. Simmons is doing it, and I was like, I started looking it up. I'm like, wow, there is a lot of talent behind this. This
Seth Rogen
cartoon.
as Alan the Alien, who's really funny, and
that was a funny scene. Was that episode 4? Or was that episode 3?
Episode 3. If I remember right.
Okay, because when we talked about episode 3, I hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah,
that is my favorite moment of this show, where Invincible has to fight the alien, and the alien realizes, oh wait, this isn't like I forget what he thinks. It's another planet. Like this isn't Mars.
He goes to the wrong one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, sorry, man. Like that was really funny. I kind of wish it did more stuff like that with like taking the piss out of these, bold, big superhero moments. But yeah, so because I didn't get to talk about episode 3, I just want to add that was a funny moment.
And the interesting thing too is that, and man, I keep saying, I've said it a bunch of times on the show, I can't wait for you guys to watch The Boys. I really can't, because you guys are going to lose your shit. Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are actually producers of The Boys.
Oh, cool.
And they've adopted, they're big comic book geeks and stuff like that, and they've got their hands into that, and it's just like bonkers. And also he has a cameo in The Boys as well, which
right.
you'll see. But the big twist at the end of episode 5 is when he teams up with Titan, and he kind of is Titan's kind of like a Luke Cage type character. That's kind of the vibe I got from him, turning to stone instead of like having to like the strong guy like skin and everything. They get into this crazy battle. And they get into this battle with this guy called Battle Beast, who ends up, it looks like it's going to be another Guardians of the Globe situation where they did see the original one. Because the new team, which was Teen Team, a lot of them are Teen Team, they show up and he wipes the floor with them. He really fucks them up. And at the ending, though, we find out that Titan essentially set the whole thing up, did a fake team up with Invincible to get him to kind of like take each other out. And we find out he's the mastermind behind the whole damn thing the whole time, kind of like Kingpin style. That was like really bananas. That I really thought, I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah, no, that was a cool twist, and I because they do set him up, like you see his family, and he tells this isn't the life I want. I got stuck in here. I can't do anything else. They do a lot to sort of humanize him and make you think that he's like a Luke Cage type trapped in this, and something that stuck out to me that I liked, nice character moment, is when he looks at Invincible. He says something to the effect of, "Sorry, kid, I hope you make it." Like,
yeah,
you saw that kind of remorse, but not really remorse.
It was a means to an end.
Right, exactly. And I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see what happens with Invincible next. We'll get episode 6 drops on Friday along with Falcon and Winter Soldier. So we'll see that. But let's get into our first non-DCEU film to talk about. And it's 2012's Dredd. It's a movie that I've been dying to talk about. It's a movie that it had to be the first one that we jumped into because we're gonna be jumping around a lot with our movies for a little while.
We're in the multiverse now, my friends.
Yeah, we're multiversing the whole fucking thing now. Okay, we're gonna get into the MCU. We promise, but we really want to give some of the non-franchise comic book movies a little shine here. So, I love Dredd. I think it's fantastic. Carl Urban is Judge Dredd in this movie. He's also Billy Butcher in The Boys, which just shows his range all over the place because their characters absolutely nothing. I love Carl Urban.
Scourge.
He's another guy. Let's just add him to the list of guys who are all over the damn comic book universe for this.
Not a comic book thing, but Dr. McCoy from the Star Trek reboot.
I was gonna say,
yes.
I'm not a big Trek guy. I know, Jason. I know you are, but I love the J.J. Abrams ones. I actually like those 3 movies a lot. But I also know they're not like regular Trek, so I'm the one who likes the one who's like it's not the typical one. But whatever. The violence in this movie is out of control. It's a lot.
Off the charts. The way I would categorize this is if we lived in an alternate universe where canon film productions survived past the 80s and we're making movies now, this would be a canon movie.
Yes, absolutely.
And I am all for it. I just want to say I'm all for it. This was fucking a great experience. Go ahead.
Dredd is also what was the inspiration for one of my favorite movies of all time, RoboCop.
I was gonna ask you because as I was watching, I was like, I wonder which came first. Was it the Dredd comics or RoboCop?
Dredd was first. Dredd comics were first.
I got that vibe off of it. Wow.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Yeah, I did too.
And I love RoboCop. RoboCop 1 is an amazing satire on 80s culture, 80s America. Amazing.
And RoboCop 2 that part went over their head. And that's why RoboCop 2 fucking sucks. But
RoboCop 2 thought it was a serious movie.
Holy shit! I watched that about a year or two ago, and Tim knows how much I hate RoboCop 2, and I've hated it as more and more as time goes on. It is so fucking the dumbest characters ever created. But let's not get into RoboCop. Let's stay on Dredd. But that is part of it, though. There is a connection with the characters. Like RoboCop is inspired by Dredd. Tony has this is the first time you've seen it, so why don't you lean into it? Because I can sit here and just level. Leah Headley, by the way, is great as Mama in this too. She like if you most of you I'm sure probably seen Game of Thrones. I don't know if either one of you.
Never seen it.
Okay, Game of Thrones is awesome until the last season, but whatever. She is fantastic in Game of Thrones. Like she is an actress who can really make you hate her in a way, like really hate her, and she's like a real bitch in this one, and she really gets under your skin. But Tony, what did you think of? What was your thoughts on Dredd?
All right, so I'll tell you what I liked about the film first.
Okay.
I liked Carl Urban a lot. I really did. I think that his one-liners were great. They were so many of them as the movie went on, just would come out with this, here and there, whatever. The one I thought was the best one was, when he said when he had gotten shot through the wall and he's sitting on the floor and the guy is like, wait, and the guy's like, wait for what? You think I'm going to change my mind? And then Anderson blows him away from behind. And he's like, no, wait, so she could shoot you. So you could shoot you. It was just like, it was, I look forward to the next thing he was going to say. I really appreciated the fact of is that I went to see the original Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone in the theater. I took my brother to see it. My brother was very into Judge Dredd comics when he was a kid, and he loved Stallone, so he wanted to go see it. So I went to the movies with him. I think it was like 17, or I just started driving or whatever, and I took him to the movies. And I'm sitting watching this, and I'm like, this is the fucking worst movie I think I've ever seen in my entire life. Through the whole thing, I was like, oh my god, like what the fuck, man. So I appreciate the fact that Urban took it to a different level of, obviously there's no comparison between the two films.
No.
So, but Urban was definitely very good. Lena Headey as Mama was, oh my God. how fucking creepy was this woman? Oh my God. I was blown away by her. I know I have not watched Game of Thrones. I know that, I have been told by family members that they will disown me if I don't watch it eventually. So I have promised to do that at some point. But man, she was as creepy as fucking creepy gets in this film. Really, that scene again with her with that that tank fucking gun where she's just cutting down,
Oh my God.
not even caring who she's taking out, just so she could get rid of Dredd and Anderson. I was like, wow, So the look at her, I mean, she looked creepy during this whole movie.
I actually think she's kind of hot, like in real life, but
she's a good looking woman. Oh, she's good looking woman.
But she twisted, man, in this movie. Like, holy shit,
her fucking teeth are all fucked up. Yeah. Like, I'm telling you, like, oh my God. All right, so she was fantastic. I thought the cinematography was very, very good. Very good. Like, just the camera angles and seeing, seeing characters come into the scene through the light in the helmet or through the glass or like that shit was really, really well done. And the scene where Mama's killed and she's going, and the glass falling and everything like that. And then, the scenes where she's like high and everything is like, they changes the perspective and everything. That shit was wild. And I was, for the time that this movie came out, that was really, really well done.
9 years ago. I can't even believe it.
I know. It's 2012. And, and that's the time where it really, like, CGI really kind of started to turn at that point. But this was for a $50 million budget movie. This was well done.
Yeah.
I thought the action was great. I really do. And I'm going to preface this by saying I loved Deadpool. Which is, kind of, I'll get into like what I feel like the similarities and, and the things between this and Deadpool. But I love Deadpool. I love the John Wick films. The action in this movie was really, really well done. It was well choreographed. It was done excellent. The problem I did have with it is I felt that the gore was way over the top. I felt like it was at points, it was completely unnecessary. And at points, I feel like it took me out of the movie because I'm like, well, that's all right. That's fucking horrible. Like, it's just like, and I watched John Wick when I went to go see John Wick 3 and you guys, I'm assuming both of you saw John Wick 3, right?
3's the only one I haven't seen, but you can spoil it for me.
There's no spoiling. I will tell you that so much unbelievable shit happens in the first 20 minutes. I was like, I must have said holy shit about 10 times out loud in the theater in the first 45 minutes of the movie. It's just so many unbelievable things happen. And this movie is about 10,000 yards ahead of where John Wick is in John Wick 3. I mean, this is like big, slow motioning bullets going through people's faces. And I'm like, okay, I get where you're going. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, it goes over the top. At some points, I'm just like, oh my God, what the fuck? And that shit doesn't usually bother me, but it was just incessant. It was constant throughout the whole movie.
Are you saying that you didn't appreciate watching, I think it's the end with the mama fall into the floor with the camera and her face.
Like, and again, like, okay.
I love it, though. Sometimes, I thought it was awesome.
But, like, sometimes, like, you don't, like, leave it to my imagination. I don't have to see every little, like, like I said, if it was parts and this and that and here and there throughout the movie, Deadpool's a perfect example. Like, when he goes into the bathhouse and he's chopping guys' arm, it's different. It's done to a fun kind of a song, like it, what was that, Enya, right? When he's doing it, like, Deadpool is different because you're getting that grotesque type of stuff, but it's done in a humorous type of manner. This was just fucking bleak. It's a bleak movie. It was done that way. And I'm not saying that's the way it should be done. I appreciate that. But the gore for me was like just over the top.
But the thing is I'm not going to act like I read a shitload of like Judge Dredd comics and things like that or whatever. I'm familiar with the source material, and it's kind of what it needed to be. Like it was I can see where you can say that it was a little bit over. It is over the top, but I think it's done that way on completely intentionally. It's in your face. It's
there's
gritty.
no question.
It's insanely gritty, which is what these are the things that I love about this movie, though, because it's not like anything else. I'm pretty sure you would agree, though. It's not like any other comic book movie you've seen.
There's nothing. There's nothing like this.
And you mentioned the budget at $50 million. This movie got if you think back, this movie got overlooked by tons and tons of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was almost going to overlook it. The marketing was barely anything. They barely put a dime into it. And it's like you said, the actual production is low budget, but it doesn't look low budget. It looks
it was
legit.
Oh, it did. It was. That's why I said the cinematography was excellent. Yeah. Like it looked the part. Like it had that that grim kind of apocalyptic kind of look to it. It did. Yeah. It looked really good, and I like that portion of it. I like it. And again, I'm not a huge Judge Dredd fan that I can go back and reading the comics or whatever. I do know that this is source material. Yeah. Okay, he did live in a fucked up time in a fucked up place, so I get all that. It's just, and I would have liked the movie better if it wasn't so in your face over. And that's the thing. For me, it was over the top. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like it was too much at points and parts that. And again, that stuff doesn't typically bother me. I love Deadpool, love John Wick, and those are violent action films, right? But this was. It was just too far in my opinion. That was just it was too much for me to fully enjoy. I didn't hate it, but I would have enjoyed it more if there had been just a little bit less, I think.
Okay.
I wonder if it's the blood, because the John Wick movies, there's not a lot of blood. No other action movie that has to do with comic books really has blood. This was a very bloody movie. I wonder if that was what tipped the scales for you.
That, and then another thing that I wrote down is that so and we all know that I'm a fan of Zack Snyder, and I like when he uses the slow-mo and whatever. He used a lot of it in Justice League, and we talked about that. That was one of the things. Yeah, something like that throughout for 4 hours. If you think about 4 hours, that's a very small part of the movie at that point. But we talked about it, how much that I did enjoy different things in that, but during some of those goriest scenes they switch to slow-mo, and I'm like, now you're intensifying it even more by it's just like I don't know, like at that point I'm like, all right, enough's enough. There was the scene where she's, like I said, where she's taking the gun and she's just cutting down the whole thing. Like, okay, that shit, you want to make a point where she doesn't give a shit. She's cutting people in half, so on and so forth. Like, okay, that scene required it, but every fucking scene is as gory as possible. And I get where they were going. I know they wanted to show the lawlessness, the how society had changed to this point and how it gotten to the way to where it was. I get all that. I got all that from the film. Mm-hmm. What for me, what just did it in was the fact that it just seemed to be too much. You could have pulled back a little bit, and I think I would have been more into it at that point. But it's just like, all right, what who's going to get their head fucking blown off in this scene? Like it's just, I don't know. It's just my opinion.
No, okay, Jason, I want to hear. I got to hear what you thought of this too, because I know you're a big horror movie guy like I am. So. Besides comic books and things like that,
I will preface the fact that I'm not a big horror movie guy.
No, you are not.
You are not. I will put that out there. Friday the 13th and things like that I watched and so on and so forth. But this was like that plus, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any question about it.
No, yeah, it's a bloody movie. It's there's a lot of gratuitous violence, and I think it is gratuitous.
Yeah. Yes.
However, for me, I think this is how to sum up when I'm going to like something. Does the thing I'm watching, does it know what it's trying to do? Right? Does it know what it's supposed to be? This movie was completely gratuitous. The violence completely gratuitous. They CG'd that a lot of that blood, which I don't think the CG really holds up. I think sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I think there was one shot I don't remember. I think it was with one of the bullets going through the face where the blood kind of looked like kind of looked like a video game.
And that was the slow-mo thing when it was coming this way and it kind of goes, it like blows the guy, shows you blowing the guy's face off. Yeah,
right. But it's gratuitous. But I think that this, as I said at the top, this is, if Canon Pictures survived the 80s, this would be a Canon picture. And what I loved about those Canon pictures was the gratuity of the violence, because that's what you're there for. That is what it's about. Like, and you know, I'm the guy who 2 episodes ago said I hated Invincible episode 1 because of the gratuitous blood and violence, right? Yeah. But it's because I didn't think it didn't feel right in what they were doing here. Like, I've never read any Judge Dredd, but I kind of assumed that because I've read enough, like, it's an English comic, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I've read comics like that, like V for Vendetta is very much like that. Where, you know, I know that they can get kind of gratuitous and bloody and violent, and so I kind of just assumed that was the source material and rode with it. So it didn't bother me. Like, I get why it bothered you, Tony. I mean, because again, Invincible, I didn't like it for that reason.
Right.
But kind of like I bought this ticket and I'm taking the ride, and like, this movie kind of it tells you what it is, and for me anyway, in that first scene where Dredd just like, oh, I'm gonna stop these guys, and then they're just like, it literally is like an 80s movie, but they're doing that like time lapse drug instead of snorting blowing rails, you know. And it's like, oh no, let's get out of here, let's, you know. And then he's like, all right, pursuit. He just kills them, you know. From that moment on, I'm like, all right, I know what ticket I just bought. This is the movie. And so I didn't mind the gratuitous violence at all.
Well, you're absolutely right. It's laser focused. This movie is laser focused on what it was the story that it was trying to tell. It never wavers. It never wavers. You know, the little comic relief that you get from the one-liners that he says they're not funny. They're comical because he'll say something kind of off the wall, not off the wall, but like he'll make a one-liner about something that happens, and it's just it seems like comic relief, though it really isn't. It's the only light part of the film is when he comes out with whatever he comes out with.
It's kind of like delivered is deadpan.
Yes. It's deadpan, exactly. There's no emotion there whatsoever. He just says it, and it's
kind of like you're in a really uncomfortable situation, and to ease the tension, someone just keeps making jokes or comments that normally wouldn't be funny, but because everything's so uncomfortable, you're just like, okay, that's light.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah. I know but you're absolutely right. The movie it knows what it wants to do, and it sticks on that line the entire time. You know, it's not one of these kind of fall off the rails kind of movies. It just it starts from that first scene through the last scene. That movie is exactly what it is from beginning to end. There's no, off pace. It's from the very beginning to the end.
Yeah, and so the way that they show, like you said, Tony, what really and again, the gratuitous violence is one of the things I love about the movie.
Right.
I love the fact that it's a very different comic book movie than anything else that's out there. You mentioned Deadpool, but Deadpool is still more like mainstream in a way. Like now Deadpool's mainstream.
Right.
But when this movie came out, no Deadpool, no, there was, not in a comic. Comics obviously existed, but it was before a lot of movies. This movie, I feel, is very ahead of its time.
It was
in a great way, and you can see the RoboCop inspirations from there, which is also probably what sold me on it too, because I do love RoboCop as much as I do.
I do know that.
And the way that they show when someone's on slow-mo is fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is completely bananas, and you almost feel like you're high along with them. Like, it's just
even that first
psychedelic.
Where the first scene when you see it, I think when Mama's in the bath and she's taking
bubbles.
it.
Oh my God,
that is
crazy.
Like, it was so simple, but it was so effective. And just watching it in slow motion, it was like, Whoa, that's really cool.
Oh, and
Like
they had
it
the
just
gas
looked
too
cool.
when they were walking, when they were in the scene with the gas, and I mean, again, the cinematography, I thought it was shot extremely, especially on a small budget, $50 million. This was the
Yeah.
same year that Avengers came out, that they had $200 million. So
Yeah.
you could see, like, it's not a huge budget, but cinematically, it's shot beautifully. It really is.
They
It's
squeezed
it's
every
very.
penny.
Oh, they
Yeah.
certainly did. They absolutely did. I'll say this about this and Deadpool. By seeing this movie come out on a small budget, right,
Mhm.
and it made no money. I mean, it was
No.
$50 million budget. I think it only made $17 million. I mean,
Oh,
it
it's a
made
shame.
no
Nobody knew
money
about it.
whatsoever.
Nobody
Yeah.
knew about it.
And it did have the stigma that Judge Dredd with Stallone was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
And I think that people were like, that movie was terrible. I'm not going to see that again. And again, with the way they marketed it was a little bit like, it was a remake of Stallone's. And it was like, I hated that movie. What am I going to go see this one for? So that was part of it. But I will tell you that because Ryan Reynolds wanted to portray the Deadpool with the violence the way that, the way that he did, I can understand why Fox was so reluctant to do it, because this movie didn't play well in theaters. Okay. It did well. I looked it up. It did well on Rotten Tomatoes. I believe
Yes.
72% of critics liked it, and I think 75% of people who went to see it liked it, but not enough people went to go see it, and that was
Yeah.
the problem. But I can understand why Fox would say, "Hey, look, we tried this once with Dredd. We had the violence,
Yeah.
we had the the gore, this was an R-rated comic book movie. Fucking nobody went to go see it. I can understand why they were hesitant to give Reynolds the money to do Deadpool. And look, and there's no, in my opinion, there's no question that they gave it the same budget that they gave Dredd.
Yeah.
It was exactly the same budget. They gave him only $50 million to do what he had to do. But the difference between the two for me was that the way the violence was in Deadpool, behind the humor, behind this, they made the gratuitous violence almost, comical in a sense. And that's, I think, why it played a hell of a lot better. I mean, obviously, also that the Deadpool character is obviously much more likable than Judge Dredd. It's a little bit too grounded, but I can understand why Fox was hesitant to go down that road, because they saw what happened with Dredd, and it didn't play to people at the time.
Yeah. Jason, so your overall, I mean, your overall feelings on Dredd. I mean, obviously, we're getting a feeling that you like it, but
Yeah, no, I overall I really enjoyed it. I think I loved it. I love the simplicity of it, right?
exactly.
Like it was, you get the introduction to Dredd, you see him kill a bunch of hopheads, right? To use an 80s slang. That's an 80s slang, right? That exactly what he's about. And what I appreciate too is they don't try to build lore, they don't try to give us jam in all this information. Hey, psychics exist, and she's one of them, and you're gonna take her out, and he doesn't want to do it. And it's a very bare bones story of like a cop taking a rookie out for a test. He doesn't want to do it, and then he doesn't really think she deserves the shot. And then they go, and that's the thing, is I forgot, because I saw this years ago.
Yeah.
And it was one of those movies like I watch at like 2 a.m. while I couldn't sleep, so I didn't even remember a lot of it. And they get to that the house, right, the building, which is like it's then the buildings are neighborhoods,
Pine trees, I believe it was.
I think that's what it was. And like that's it. That's the movie. Now we're stuck in here. We got to shoot our fucking way out, and that's it. And I really just appreciated the simplicity of that. I really appreciated that Carl Urban doesn't take the helmet off.
That's key.
Well, that was
it is key.
Because he never takes it off, and he doesn't take it off in the comics.
He doesn't, and I appreciate that we had other, the corrupt judges. They also don't take their helmets off, right? I'm not misremembering that. They keep them on.
No, they keep them all the time.
Yeah. I think there are really fun moments where they subvert expectation, right? Like to jump at the end when the psychic woman, I forget everyone's name, but when Anderson, when Anderson gets free and she runs into the corrupt female judge who's like, "I'm your backup," and she just goes, poof, you don't expect stuff like that. So the only thing I could really ding this movie on for what it is. Not to say it's a perfect movie. Like if this movie was trying to sell me that it was Shakespeare, I'd have a lot to say. But this movie, as I said, laser focused, as you said, Tony, it knows exactly what it wants to do, exactly what it is, and I think it does that. So the only thing I could really ding it on is as I said, I do think, and it's not even a fault of the movie because it was a pretty low budget movie considering what it did.
Yeah.
And it was 9 years ago, right? Is that I thought some of the CGI didn't hold up. Like I thought some of the blood looked kind of like it was like in a video game. But here and there, again, I said I'm dinging it because I can't say all glowing reviews about this movie.
For the most part, I thought it was pretty good considering the money that they had to spend. I thought it was pretty decent. Otherwise,
that's the thing is like I'm also used to watching now with you guys, right? $100 billion movies where all CGI is hyper realistic, and this is a low budget movie that is 9 years old. So. Right. It's not even the movie's fault, and I don't even think it takes away from the movie, to be honest with you.
No, I didn't even notice. I a little bit here and there, but when you hear the $50 million, it's like, well, okay, I get it.
Let me ask you guys this: do you think this property, the Judge Dredd property, the comic is called Dredd or Judge Dredd?
It's actually the comic is actually Dredd. Yeah. There was one that's Judge Dredd as part of like an anthology series.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like, what do you guys think if they rebooted this not as a movie, but as like a show on Prime or HBO, like where it's kind of like a Judge Dredd, but every episode is a case or every episode is a thing. Do you think that plays nowadays? Do you think that's something people would want to see? Because I think this character is very interesting, and I think the world is very interesting, and I mean it's a shame that all we got from it was this, which I think is great, but that's it. And then Judge Dredd. You think this would play as like a show if they rebooted it?
So funny you mentioned that, because one of the things I was going to mention next was that Carl Urban has been pushing hard to get a sequel to this for years. And then I feel it was like 2 or 3, it had to be longer than that now. I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago at this point. They did announce that they were going to do a series called Mega City 1.
Oh,
and he was going, and they never confirmed, but Carl Urban was supposedly involved with it, but they didn't say. I think he may have been a producer, but they've never actually confirmed whether he was returning as Dredd or not. And everyone and their mother, and I am one of them, who was like, "You've got to get him in this, you've got to do this." But they've never found a home for it just yet, and that's been the problem. So they're still pushing after all these years. And they're hoping that they'll be able to continue the story from this movie. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work. I think exactly what you're saying. This as a streaming service show would be great. If it's something like, Amazon Prime has taken things like Invincible and The Boys, and this can fit in like that. That seems to be their comic book niche. Like, if you want to say gratuitous and over the top violence, the adult comic book stuff. That's kind of like what they're looking at. I think it would find a great home on Amazon Prime Video. Netflix would be another good home for it because Netflix is all over the place with their stuff. So if they can get Netflix to pick it up, those are the only two that I can personally see doing that. I don't know, HBO Max. I don't even know where the rights to this are right now.
Yeah, no, that's true. And HBO Max they're a DC thing. It's like it wouldn't be HBO Max, it wouldn't be Disney because it's DC Marvel. Yeah. But Prime. I think Prime would be perfect.
Prime would be perfect, or if not them, I think Netflix would be another great home for this. I really, really want to see this continue, Jay, because I agree. I really enjoy this movie, and I want it. I don't know. I guess maybe part of my soft spot for this is the fact that whenever a movie blows away my expectations,
same here.
I'm always like more enamored with it, and I've gotten that, here and there. I remember Batman Begins, even though Christian Bale, I love American Psycho. As soon as Christian Bale was cast as Bruce Wayne, I was already 100% in, and Nolan was directing it, and that's fine. But Batman Begins still blew away my expectations, and they were already high. Because I think Batman Begins is arguably the best Batman movie that there's been. For me, The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, that is a lot closer than I think a lot of people really give it credit for.
I agree with you. I think for me, Dark Knight inches out only because the Joker.
Yes.
Right. But I think
Yeah.
Batman Begins is a phenomenal movie. And it's funny because I think I've said this. I've seen every Batman movie in the theater that I've been alive for. I didn't see the 60s one, obviously. And when I saw Batman and Robin, and I saw the horrors that befell us there with all of the ice puns, I walked out of there and I said, I'm never seeing another Batman movie in the theater again. I can't. If that's what's going on, I can't be a part of that. And I didn't like they put it out, and I didn't know who Christopher Nolan was at that point. I had seen Memento. I don't know why it didn't click because I really like Memento. So I don't know why it didn't click that I might like this movie, and I like Christian Bale. But I went to see it only because my younger brother, who was a kid then, really wanted to see it. And so I said, okay, I wanted to spend time with him, so I took him. I walked out of there going, wow, that was the greatest thing ever. And then I think, as you said, right, expectations. You know me that once a franchise burns me, it takes a lot to get me back, right? We've had this conversation with Star Wars a million times.
Yeah.
But being burned as badly as I was for Batman and Robin and watching this, it was like, oh my God, the Phoenix has risen. And again, it was my expectations because I was expecting it not to be good because of what I had, my last experience. And so I think 100% correct. And I think the reason this Dredd was a 2 a.m. movie for me and not something that I took seriously, and I did wind up liking it, was because I even after I heard no, it's not like Judge Dredd, I was so burned by that Judge Dredd movie because I did want to see it. I was excited to see it when it came out. I didn't see it in the theater, but I think I rented it at Blockbuster. I was like, wow, Stallone, and this is a cool character. This is going to be gritty, and it was garbage.
Horrible.
And this movie, though, I remember I heard it was coming out, and the same things I thought, it did cross my mind, Stallone, blah, blah, blah. But then I'm like, no, I need to go in with like a fresh perspective. And I looked at it, and then again, I remember the marketing was virtually nothing, right? Like maybe you saw one poster once in a while on the subway, and that was about it. And then I saw the embargo lifted, and then I see at the time Rotten Tomatoes almost like 90%. I'm like, what? This? And I browsed over some reviews, and I was like, this is bananas. So then I remember I had nothing to do, and then I was like, and I told Angie, you want to go see this, and sure. She's like, whatever, let's go. And we went, and we lived in Forest Hills at the time. We walked down to the Midway, and we checked out Dredd, and I was like, holy shit, that was fucking awesome. I really liked it, and she was like, yeah, that was like, wow, like. And she never saw the Stallone one or whatever, but she was still like, that was really fucking cool, man. And I don't know. I think that's just why I always have a soft spot for this one.
See, this is, and the thing about the Stallone was it had the Demolition Man type of look to it. And Demolition Man was such a awesome. Like a cult classic.
Yeah.
And it came out 2 years later, so we were like, how could you go wrong? Judge Dredd. Yeah. Stallone, this will be perfect. And then I remember like the first 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, this is definitely not Demolition Man.
Demolition Man.
This is
Rob
nowhere
Schneider.
Near Demolition Man.
You put Rob Schneider in a motorcycle with him riding together on it, and then you hear weird stories over time about that, and that's how you can go wrong with it.
Oh, it's so brutal. It really is. It's so brutal. But I did look it up, by the way, while you were talking, and it was only last summer that the Mega City 1 show was said that it was written, and they were looking for a streaming service for it. So,
so this might be happening. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I'll caution you with this. Okay, one of my favorite authors is Nelson DeMille. Okay. And Nelson DeMille writes a character, a series of stories on a character, John Corey. And I've read every book. I love the John Corey character. I do. Plum Island, Nightfall. These are my favorite books. And there have been in development John Corey stories for years now that they're trying to get it on TV. They were going to try to make a movie. Now, in The General's Daughter, if you remember that movie, that was Nelson DeMille. Did pretty well at the theaters. It was a good movie. John Travolta played the character, so on and so forth. So there's source there that that a story like this can carry into a theater, and I know that there's a huge audience for it, and they want it. but it's been literally in development, up and down. It's got a writer. It's going to go into a miniseries. It's going to be a TV show. It's going to be a movie. I'm going to say probably the last 10 years I've been waiting for something with John Corey to finally come out. Nothing has happened. So it all comes down to whether someone is going to put money behind it and back it. And I think that people are going to be scared because this movie, which was well critically received, it was received well by people who saw it, but because it lost so much money, people are going to be hesitant to put money behind it. I guarantee it.
Yeah, no, and I understand from a business perspective that it can be tough, but I'm still holding out hope that we can get this, and Carl Urban maybe on his own hot name with the boys and stuff like that. Maybe that helps them out because he's the star on that.
I'm surprised Carl Urban, because The Boys is been going a while. The Boys is really successful. I'm surprised Carl Urban hasn't tried to use his clout at to get something started. Just because it not to say it would be like The Boys, but it would
like it.
Nothing. But from what I understand, the level of violence and the grittiness, it would nothing like the story, but it would be a similar feel to it. So I'm surprised that Carl Urban hasn't gone hey, I'm really popular in this, and this is really popular. This is tonally similar. Let's try this out. I'm surprised he can't make something happen. Maybe I'm overestimating Carl Urban's star power. Maybe that's
No, he's a hot name over there. I mean, I don't know if they're going to want two shows running simultaneously with him as the star of. I mean, granted, though, if Mega City 1 does get picked up, which if anyone who's in charge of that ever sees this damn show, please. We want it. The fans want it. Believe me.
Release the Mega City 1 cut.
Exactly. You will never see his face though, and I think that's also a hesitation that a lot of studios have. Is wait, we have Carl Urban, but you're never going to see him. So, he's going to be behind the mask the whole time.
Pedro Pascal does
Mandalorian.
Great.
I was just going to say that Mandalorian set up a. I never thought that would work, right? Never seeing the actor's face in a show, but Pedro Pascal has shown us, and Mandalorian shown us it does. It actually felt wrong when we saw his face at the end of season 2. I was kind of I should never see this. No, Mando.
There was 2 episodes where he had the mask off, and I was like, come on, don't make him do it again, please. I understand why they did it in the last episode because they wanted to show you the look on his face, and I understand why they did it the episode with Bill Burr. Him showing that he will do anything to protect the child. So I understand why they did it.
Oh yeah,
I was just
absolutely.
I was very right, and I was very disappointed. I'm I don't want to see your fucking face. Put your mask, put the helmet back on.
I get why they did it. It just felt dirty. I'm not supposed to see this.
Yes, I agree with you 1,000%.
But yeah, so I do think, I mean, we're not movie producers, obviously, but we're producers in the business. If we were
someday,
we'd put up
Jason. Someday, Farachi's working on that. Someday we're gonna do it.
Farachi, if you hear this, I want to be in charge of that Dredd production. But I think I think we've proven that we can have star power and we can have good acting behind a mask, and I think Carl Urban shows that he does it in this movie. And I'm preaching to the choir here. We all agree, but I just think it would be a good. I want to see more of this. That's all I'm saying. I want to see more of this.
I definitely think it would work in a show. No question. No question, it would work in a show.
So, all right. So let's wrap this up then. So there it is. There we have our first non-DCU movie in the can right there to discuss.
Did you guys see that Black Adam started shooting?
Black Adam did start shooting.
Oh yeah,
we're finally there, bro. We finally have proof. It's on.
Tony, you already know what I'm going to say. I'm not going to believe until I see a trailer.
Oh my God. You're so full of shit because you said that you would believe it when you saw that they started filming.
We'll see if it. Oh, I want to see a trailer. I want to know that it's actually this and The Flash are the 2 movies that I want to see a trailer for before I believe it actually happened.
I can understand The Flash. We've had more start and stops with The Flash. The Rock never committed to Black Adam until The Rock
was cast in Black Adam when Jason and I were going to high school together. That's how long ago this damn The Rock has been cast.
Right. Let's not go crazy, pal. All right.
That was 1996.
I was going to say that was 2 decades ago. Let's settle down.
Before he went to WWE, he signed a contract saying I will star Black Adam.
Oh my God. Oh my! Well, I'll tell you right now. I saw a picture of him just recently because he's been training for this movie.
Mhm.
Holy shit, bro! He looks unbelievable. He
That
looks
dude's getting bigger.
unbelievable.
He's a walking muscle. I love
He
him.
is.
He's
bro.
awesome.
But he's a walking muscle who's just like the nicest, friendliest like guy. Like, I love
Absolutely.
him
He's
so
awesome.
much.
He's awesome.
Bro, I love that dude, bro. I love that dude. He's so great. Never forgot where he came from.
Right?
You know, I could listen to him tell that story about his parents and, you know, getting evicted and, you know, like I could listen to that story every single day. He really is something else. And I mean, I've heard stories of stuff that he's done like away from the camera. He does a lot of stuff on the camera because he wants to bring light, and he doesn't do it all. I mean, look, there's nobody better, I don't think, in the world that markets himself better than The Rock does. I mean, the guy,
Oh no, he's great at marketing.
guy's phenomenal. I mean, he really is. But like, he does a lot of stuff away from the camera too that you don't see. You know, just, you know, stuff that he does for people, and you can even tell, even the stuff he does on camera, he's genuine about it. He's genuine about everything.
That's what it is. Like, I remember when he did Rampage, which I saw in the theater because I will see almost any Rock movie in the theater if given the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Because I just enjoy watching them. So I saw Rampage in the theater, and I remember reading afterward that he got like a whole bunch of like sick kids, like rented at a theater and let them come and watch Rampage for free, and there was all these free snacks and stuff. And I'm like,
a girl invited him to the prom. A girl invited to the prom, and he said he couldn't go because he was filming a new movie, but he rented out a theater and let her invite whoever she wanted. He paid for all the snacks.
I misremembered the thing. Yeah, that was it. But that was so cool.
If you want to hear I'll tell you a quick, really great Rock story that I heard from somebody that he works out at a gym. Before he had his own gym, he used to work out at a gym in Miami, and he used to go and do his workout and whatnot or whatever. And he was like a celebrity, but people used to leave him alone, like when he was in the gym and doing his stuff. So there was a couple people who waited outside the gym for him to come out. And he comes out and he was signing autographs or whatever. And this guy goes up to him and he asks him to sign and whatnot. And he says, oh, so, you know, who are you? What do you do? Whatever. And he says, oh, I just got out of the military. He says, you know, where were you? Asking him, spent a few minutes talking to him and asked him, you know, about what he did over there, you know, what he did overseas and everything. And the guy says to him, he says, hey, would you mind taking a selfie with me? And, you know, he says, absolutely. So he takes a picture, whatever, shakes his hand. Thank you for your service. And he leaves. So the guy's like unbelievable. He's, you know, the Rock gets in his truck. He drives off. 2 minutes later, the guy didn't even leave yet. 2 minutes later, he comes back. He gets out of his truck and he goes over to the guy. And the guy's like, what the fuck is this? Like, why is he back? And he says to him, he says, I'm sorry. He says, I didn't like our interaction the first time. And the guy's like, well, what do you mean, Rock? And he says, you waited out for me. He says, and you're telling me how much you admire me and so on and so forth, that you wanted my autograph and you wanted to take a picture with me. He says, but really, he says, it was that I should have asked you to take a picture on my phone. He says, I would like to take a picture with you with my phone. He says, would you do that for me? Wow. And he said, absolutely, absolutely. So he took the picture and he goes, thank you again for your service. And he left. That's the kind of shit that shows you that dude gets it. He knows where he came from. He knows the reason why he has what he has, and he's able to do what he does. It's because of people like us who are going to go and see his films, who are going to watch the thing and buy his products and so on and so forth. And that's the reason why. And that's why when he puts something out, puts out a shirt, he puts out a pair of shoes or whatever, I'll be the first one. I want that. I need that. If it's $50 more, $40 more, $30 more because it's got his logo on it, that's why. Because that dude, I don't mind giving him my money because he is a guy who literally gets it. And that is, that for me is the epitome of being a celebrity and being able to do right by somebody is a story like that.
No, that is a great story.
So, Ed, when are we going to start our secondary podcast, We Love the Rock, where we just talk about the Rock the whole time?
I'm ready. Let's go.
I think we'll look into that. We'll see if I think there's a lot of people on the Pop Culture Pros who might sign up for that in 2 seconds.
Oh yeah.
Remember, we got the Just Too Sweet guys, and then you would have us, and I'm sure there's others on other shows.
Do a Rock tribute show. Oh man, sign me up for that shit. I'll be all over that.
And I want to point out, because I got out of wrestling pretty early. Like I tapped out, pun intended, before The Rock really got there.
There it is.
So my Rock love is not from wrestling. It is simply from his movie career and just the things he's done, like as like stories, like Tony said. So
Yeah.
I think we could do a rock spectrum right now. That's a terrible
rock and roll.
There we go. But anyway,
No, I was in and out. I was into wrestling like when I was a kid, and then I was out for a few years. Once I started seeing things like Doink the Clown, I tapped out.
I remember Doink.
And then I came back though, like when someone told me Hogan was like a bad guy, and I'm like, what? And then I heard about that, and I loved the whole NWO thing. And then I saw Stone Cold and the DX. And honestly, though, once The Rock became my favorite wrestler, of all time.
Mine too.
And honestly, though, it's like from the whole Nation of Domination and the bad guy Rock, and then when he was good and everything, I was all about it. And then once he was gone, is when they lost me, and I don't see ever going back again.
I've taken my son. He's into wrestling, but I'll be honest with you, he likes the stuff. He loves like with Stone Cold and The Rock, and he that's the stuff that he loves. It's today's wrestling is not the same. It's not. You just because you don't have and look, Cena's great. Even though he's retired now, Cena had a great career, but it's not where it was, and it's because he was so great. He was unbelievable. You could hand him the mic, and he could just keep everybody. He would say the same shit over and over and over again, and people just ate it up and loved it. It's just he was the best. He absolutely was the best. Some of the greatest moments I feel like in WWE history happened. I'll never forget the time where he shoved Vince McMahon's head into Rikishi's ass. I will never forget that as long as I live. That was one of the greatest. I could watch that over and over and over again. I love it.
All right, so there's a huge plug, by the way, for the Just Too Sweet show. So if you're into wrestling, you can check out on Pop Culture Pros on Tuesdays. Tim and Eric, and then sometimes Bert's on there. And Dave and everyone, Just Too Sweet on Tuesdays for your wrestling fix. Eric is also on, he has the A to Z show on Mondays, so check that out. He's covering everything else. I think they talked about the legalization of like marijuana in New York this week. So their topics are all over. If you're into the Mets, then you can check out Put It in a Book show. They're on Wednesdays, usually before us, and we jump on after them. Then you got us next week. If you're into like what you heard tonight, you can check that out. Tim and I will work out a schedule and stuff, but we're working on getting Empire 161 back perhaps this weekend, so watch out for that. Jader and Kyle, I know they're on like hiatus now. I was talking to Jader the other day because he didn't get a chance to catch up on Falcon and Winter Soldier, but he was going to. And then he was like, I'm going to text you, dude. Like, as soon as I'm done, I'm going to let you know. And I might be dying to come on with you guys to wrap this thing up. So we'll see what's up. Maybe Jader will come back on join us for some peach tea. What's up, Jason?
I definitely think that when we do the shadow, we got to invite Jader on.
Absolutely, we have to. Yeah, I can guarantee it. We will work that out.
He was super excited about that, so I would love to have that discussion with him.
Absolutely. And then you got 4 Quarter Show with Dave. They're on Tuesday nights after Just Too Sweet. They cover everything from. Sure, they'll be talking about the NFL draft and the NBA playoffs and all kinds of sports. So they cover all of that all the time. So any final thoughts, any sign-offs, guys?
I just want to say that I am the law.
I thought you were gonna say I am Mojo.
It could be.
That's what I thought you were going with that.
Maybe that's the twist. Maybe I've been Mojo all along, manipulating things here in the real world.
It's been Mojo all along.
If you believe in Mojo, he comes.
Apparently.
Tony, you got anything before we head off?
No, I'm just looking forward to Falcon Winter Soldier, and I don't know what we're watching this week, but I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I love talking with you guys, love doing your show, so I'm looking forward to next week.
How about let's cover Hancock next week?
Oh, yes. I've been dying for that one.
These guys have wanted to, they've been pushing to cover Hancock. Hancock will be our movie next week.
Awesome.
So we get to, these guys are going to lose their shit over this. So
I enjoy Hancock a great deal, and Will Smith is phenomenal.
Oh, it's the best.
I'm a huge Will Smith fan too, and I haven't seen it in a while, so I'm excited to check it out. So everyone stay safe out there. Keep on going, doing whatever you're doing, distancing, masks, vaccinated, whatever it is. Make sure that you're staying safe out there. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. All right. Peace.